Call the regular meeting of the Pennington County Commission to order. We just ask that you silence all electronic devices. And we do have speaker request forms are in the back. And if you'd like to speak on any particular item, please fill those out and bring those up to Holly, sitting to your right. So now I'd ask Commissioner Hadcock to lead us in a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now do the review and approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner LaCroix. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Lassiter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent calendar.
Good morning, Commissioners. Holly Hennies, Commission Manager. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items. Approval of the minutes from the special meeting of January 29th, 2021. Number 6 is to declare asset number 5816, which is an HP SAS storage system support, as surplus for the purpose of disposal, which is submitted by Health and Human Services. Number 7 is to recognize and thank the volunteers for the month of January 2021. And number 8 is to declare asset number 68634, which is a 2014 Chevy Impala, as surplus property to be turned over to the insurance company for salvage value.
Any members of the audience wishing to have anything pulled from the consent agenda? Any items by the commission wish to have pulled? If not, I'd take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Hadcock. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item we have is number 9.
Yes.
Minutes of the regular
Commissioners.
meeting. Holly.
Item number 9 is a request to correct the minutes from the February 2nd, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting to reflect the accurate commission meeting date of January 19th. On the consent calendar in those minutes, it incorrectly stated the 25th. So we just need a motion to correct the minutes of the February 2nd meeting and approve those minutes.
Chair,
Commissioner Hadcock.
that'd be my motion.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Lassiter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, item number 10 is a request for an appointment to the 2021 Extension Advisory Board. We did not have a full applicant slate when we did this at the first meeting in January, but there is another interested individual, and she comes highly recommended from the 4-H advisors and the Extension Board. So my understanding is she is here today if the board would like to meet her and ask her any questions, but the request today would be to appoint Ms. Heather Chambliss to the 2021 Pennington County Extension Advisory Board.
Super. Heather, would you come on up? Good morning. Just
Good
give us
morning.
your name.
My name is Heather Chambliss.
And Heather, have you served on this in previous years?
I have
Okay.
not,
Okay.
no.
But you have a desire to serve?
Yes, I have 2 children that are in the Pennington County 4-H Club, and we have been in the Pennington County 4-H for 7 years. We're starting our 7th year, and I'm very adamant that 4-H continues. I grew up in 4-H in Montana, and it played an extremely big part in paths I've chosen, and I'd like that continue not only for my kids but for other kids. And somebody needs to help do that, and I can do that. So that's why I have an interest in becoming a member.
Appreciate that. It takes dedicated people like yourself to pull off those programs.
It does, and if nobody steps up, things die. So
That's right.
I don't want to see 4-H do that, and we need a voice for our kids. So that's why I'm here.
Yes. Commissioner Hadcock, did you?
No, I'm
Okay.
good.
Any of the commissioners
Thank you,
have
by the way.
questions?
I'll just say thank you, Heather. I think you're going to be a great fit for the position, and we appreciate you stepping up to the plate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd make the motion to approve. Heather.
I've got a motion from Commissioner LaCroix. Is there a second to?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner
you.
Lassiter. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote unanimous. Thank you. Appreciate it. Item number 11, Witsville Dam Management Agreement. And Holly, are you going to explain this?
Well, I'll let Jay.
Okay.
I'll pass it to
Okay.
Jay.
Well, when I saw this in the packet, I mean, it was a surprise, and then when I started reading the information, it was more of a surprise. So,
Shoot, I thought Holly was gonna do this.
Tag team.
Well, I think there's some representatives from Game Fish and Park here today. Wonderful, so I know that they can tell us a little bit about what they've been doing technically for the last 50 years, right? Managing and operating this 40-acre parcel. Jay Alderman with State's Attorney's Office, sorry. A little bit of history on this. In 1936, Pennington County acquired this property through a tax deed. Fortuitously, we got it. I'm not sure exactly how. It sounds like it's a wonderful piece of property, 40 acres with water and wildlife, fisheries opportunity, and recreation. And also, so that's 85 years ago we acquired it. That same year also, the Pennington County Commission adopted a resolution and said, hey, we want this to always remain with the county. We want it to be used for a county park and I think water conservation, which of course, as we know, 40 years later or so, the Pennington County Commission entered into a management agreement with the Game Fish and Parks to operate it kind of as part of, I think it's similar to what you would do nowadays with a walk-in area.
Correct. Game production area.
Yeah. And so for the last 50 years, it's been under a management agreement with the state or Game Fish and Parks Department to operate it for that purpose, which is consistent, as I read it, with what the commission wanted all the way back to 1936. So today, I guess this resolution working with, or the management agreement working with Game Fish and Park ends in May of this year. And so we're talking about it now so that this commission can decide what they want to do. There's a number of statutes in the code that authorize this commission to do any number of things with this property. You could sell it to the state / Game Fish and Parks. You could lease it to them, which is really what you've been doing for 50 years, or you can donate it to them. I looked at those statutes, and virtually all of them give you that authority to keep it in the public interest for a public purpose. So any of those three things, even the selling of it, in my opinion, would still be in the spirit, or donating it would still be in the spirit of that original resolution. Because I think where it says keep it in Pennington County ownership, I think I'm pretty safe in suggesting that what was intended then was to not sell it privately and have it taken out of the public domain. I think that was the real purpose of that resolution, is to keep it in the public domain, which under any one of those three scenarios, it would be. Sell, donate, or lease for the very purpose that's intended, and which would be laid out in another resolution and agreement, or a deed, if that's what you chose to do, is to actually convey it. So all of those options are on the table. It would stay in the public domain for a public purpose. You can also, in a deed, it would be a little redundant, but you can also put a reversionary clause if for any reason the property in the hands of the state were to be used in any manner not consistent with that statutory purpose, it would revert back to Pennington County. So there's safeguards for that, but I think I would stand aside because I think Game and Fish wanted to be here today to tell you a little bit about what they're doing and maybe what their hope is moving forward. Is it a lease? Is it a donation? A sell? Whatnot. So I'll be quiet at this point unless you have a quick question.
I got a
for me.
quick question. Do you know if the improvements were already made on that when the county acquired it through the tax deed?
I don't know what all improvements are on there other than in the 1936 resolution. I think it said a dam was constructed.
Correct.
So I'm assuming it's not a natural impoundment, that somebody dammed it up, maybe the original owners, and then Pennington County acquired it through tax deed in 1936. But part of that management agreement is that neither the state or the county construct or improve anything. So no buildings, no storage sheds, want to leave it in a pristine, natural condition as much as possible. I have not been out there. I'm assuming there are no improvements on the property, so, okay, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jay.
Yep.
Well, I'd ask the Game Fish and Parks representatives to come forward. Just identify yourselves.
John Carrero, Game Fish and Parks.
Tyrell Schmelz, Game Fish and Parks.
Yeah, just a little bit about the lake. It's not very big. It does get a surprisingly high usage rate in there. I mean, for something out on the interstate. Every body of water is really important to us because west side of the river, we don't really have a lot of fishing opportunities compared to the east side of the state. Some of the things that we've done there, I mean, it's amazing. We even get kayaks on there, little boats. We put a little boat ramp in there, maintain that road going into the lake every year. We've been removing cattails around the lake just to improve access for shoreline anglers. And it's it's something we hate to lose any body of water. And it sounds like you guys have an interest in maintaining that for the public. We've talked about it internally. The simplest thing for the state would be a continued lease. There are some issues with land purchases. Sometimes we have moratoriums. So, paying for face value of the land might be a difficulty, but it's definitely something we want to keep maintaining. I know Tyrell's group, they spray weeds, take care of the property. We even have a kiosk on there kind of tracking kind of a voluntary form that anglers fill out so we get an idea of usage and what's happening in there. Now, the lake is full of sediment right now. We plan on dredging that lake with our dredge that we have to continue to make improvements on there, improve the fishery, because we have had some winter kill and summer kills on that lake before.
So, John, how many acres is it?
Oh,
Compass.
water is actually about 1.5, 2 acres
Probably.
on
Okay.
there, right in there. It's not big. Have any of you guys been out there before?
I've not.
Yeah, it's not a big lake, but it does get usage. I mean, even if you go out there right now, there's ice holes that are drilled all over it, and people use it in the spring and summertime. They use it for dove hunting too on that little section of property as well.
Chairman?
Is there anybody that takes water from that?
No,
area for use?
no,
Okay.
non-usage for that.
Okay.
It
So
does get.
Is that prohibited?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just strictly as a fishery and wildlife area.
Okay. So tell me what the dam consists of.
Well, that's kind of in rough shape. It's broken up a little bit. I mean, it's old. It's 1936, just like any structure. It's not really a high risk area, so that's not really a concern. But it's one of our lists. We'll look at improving down the road too. So
is it concrete?
it's concrete.
Okay.
Yeah.
Originally it was.
A pebble concrete.
Yeah, pebble. It's a little spalled in locations, but it's holding
Okay.
up okay.
Okay. So the lease on it, I presume that the lease going back the last 50 years was a lease at what, $1 or something for leasing it? Do you know, Jay?
Yeah, I think it was $1.
I don't know that it said that in the.
Okay.
I think it did in the
It
lease.
really wasn't even called a lease, it was literally just a management agreement.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so what I would assume is that if the commission and the state wanted to pursue pretty much what we've been doing. It would probably come more in the form of a lease, like your walk-in properties or something.
Correct, and it would remove the county from any liability on the property also.
Right.
That's not stated in the old lease there.
So, yeah, that's something that was missing is, in this case, we want to have liability insurance transition to the state to take it out of the county.
Chairman?
The term of the lease, how many years? Would there need to be a termination if for any reason either party wanted to end that use, that they could give the other party a year's notice or so, I don't know. But those are some things. The other thing I heard, if I understand it right, is that there's some holdup or difficulty in the state purchasing additional land. I would assume that wouldn't apply to a donation of land. 'Cause there's purchase.
No, not at all.
That's what I
You
was gonna
still
say.
have that option if you would want. I'm not pushing that. I'm just saying that's an option to donate for the same reason. Then you don't have to worry about liability insurance, and it's out of your hands, and it's in the public domain for the purpose that it always has been. So again, those are the options
Okay.
that are.
Commissioner Adcock.
So are you guys willing to take over if we gift the land or donate the land? Can we do that since you're in a moratorium not to buy?
Yeah.
Yep, we'd have to talk to administration, but yeah, I'm sure they'd be more than willing.
So
Happy
do we need to
that.
continue this to see if you guys will take it over as a more of a gift and see if the commission is willing to gift or donate it to them and then let them bring back that they will take it over, commission?
Does that sound reasonable to you two?
Yeah.
Sure.
Commissioner LaCroy?
Yeah, I'd just say to cover our bases, we could probably stay in contact with Jay and we could do the agreement if that's not working out. So next time it comes back, we have option A or B.
Okay, good point.
And I presume that if we're talking about it, leasing it like it has been, we do it for essentially another 50-year.
Yep.
However, what length of term you'd like, so.
So,
Yep.
okay.
So that'd be my motions, move to direct staff to enter into a new agreement, either to donate or, depending on what you guys come back, lease to the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks Department for Wicksville Dam and bring it back to a final approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. So I have a motion by Commissioner Adcock and a second by Commissioner LaCroy for the staff to do some additional research, working with the state to either move forward with either a donation or a lease, continued lease on this property.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Guys.
Thank you, guys.
Next item, number 12, Cindy Moeller.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Moeller, Pennington County Auditor. The first item that I have before you is Budget Supplement SP 21-002, which is a supplement for the E911 fund from their restricted fund balance. And earlier you had approved them to pay off their lease. This is the supplement to their budget to do so.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
move to approve budget supplement SP 21-002 from the E911 fund restricted balance in the amount of $646,567.
Second.
And a second. Got a motion from Commissioner Adcock, second from Commissioner Lassiter. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. No, well, I guess opposed. It's unanimous. Thank you. Item B.
The next item that we have is the request from the city for 8 tax deed parcels. These are mostly drainage lots that the city would like to have ownership of.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
move to approve Pennington County resolution for the transfer of real property to the city of Rapid City for the following tax IDs: 45189, 55923, 56619, 65740, 58148, 62693, 62762, and 62865, sir.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Adcock. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner LaCroy. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Number 13, Dustin.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Dustin Willett, Emergency Manager for Pennington County. COVID by the numbers, it has certainly been impactful to our communities, our county, our state, and country, and the world for that matter. But as far as the numbers go, everything that we're looking for in those current numbers are heading in the right direction. So our active cases continue to, by and large, decrease. I mean, little variances by usually less than 10, whether up or down, but the general trend is certainly downwards. We're at 217, I think, cases as of yesterday, active cases in Pennington County. The last time we were at a similar level was just after the rally last August. So the numbers are certainly lower than our November, December, January peak. The ensemble projection from CDC shows numbers continuing to decrease at least over the next 2 weeks. That's the higher level of certainty in that model. Anything beyond that 2-week period are number crunching and best guesses, but they lose resolution. They lose accuracy out beyond that 2 weeks. So we really don't know what summer looks like, spring, summer, fall. The hope is that the efforts to vaccinate the population pay dividends in terms of any potential future spike in cases. Certainly we're seeing anecdotally a decrease in influenza and other contagious disease. Normally we see a little bit of an uptick by now, and those numbers have stayed very, very, very low. Again, no body of scientific study to support it, but the fact that people are paying attention to infection control, people are washing their hands, people are by and large doing more than they normally do to prevent the spread of infectious disease. And I think we're seeing that reflected in some of our other infectious pathogens that are out there. So vaccination is certainly something that's still very much on people's minds. Just recently, the number was lowered in that 1D priority by another 5 years of age. So at this point, they're at 70. So there's only really one more step to go. So in D, it was 65 and older. So there's only one more subset of patients by age that will be eligible in that 1D block. And then the others in that 1D block are teachers. Make sure I don't say this wrong. Don't necessarily have that committed to memory. Then we get into the 2 or more underlying medical conditions. Teachers, college staff, funeral service workers will round out that 1D before we move into 1E. The timeline projection for moving into the next one, so 1 Echo, the last priority group that's in this priority 1 phase, is I think April is when they're planning on moving into that 1 Echo group. So still on track at this point for a late summer, early fall general vaccination program for anyone who would want the vaccine. I think the last update we had from Monument, and it was reflected in local media, is there's about 28,000 people that have signed up on Monument's waiting list, basically people that have indicated to Monument through their online or call-in platform that they would like to receive their vaccine series when they become available and when they're eligible. So current number of vaccinations in Pennington County specifically are just under 12,000. So just under 12,000 people have been vaccinated in Pennington County. If we think that our population is somewhere between 100 and 110,000 people, we're right at just a hair over 10% of our population currently being vaccinated, which is a really good number at this point in time compared to other places in the country. Doing well with our vaccinations. It's still the Moderna or the Pfizer, still the 2-dose regime. Monument's committed to making sure that they always have enough to give individuals their second dose. So far they've moved their operation up to the mall as they stated, and it's been going really, really well. And again, anecdotally, talked to several people that have been through that process, and they say it's a conveyor belt. It's an assembly line. You go in, there's not much waiting around. They get right to it. They get it done. You go through your observation period to make sure you're not going to have an adverse reaction, and you're done. So the throughput up there seems really, really well, really good. I think it's just a matter of how many vaccine doses of vaccine we get allocated, how many doses of vaccine come in at any given time period in terms of how Monument can turn those around. You know, we have the National Pharmacy. Oh, yep.
Question for you. You mentioned 28,000 have signed up through Monument. Is anyone now allowed to sign up and Monument takes care of putting it into the category where they'll be, or is it a limitation of?
So I don't know what the vetting process is on Monument side, but when you go in and sign up, I've signed up on that site, and in the form where you put your information in, there's a drop-down list of what category you place yourself in. So if you know, in my case, I did one echo as a firefighter, as an administrative, you know, person, not an operations person. Our operations people were up in one Charlie. The administration folks were down in that one echo. So there's a drop-down list of where you place yourself. Now, in terms of 2 or more underlying conditions, I don't know what type of vetting process there is on their end. But
okay, thank you.
So. Yeah, so there's a little bit of discussion out there in terms of why no West River pharmacies are giving vaccinations, and all the pharmacies were East River, and I don't have an answer for that. It hasn't been communicated as to why that's the case. So anything I would say would be pure speculation. It could be infrastructure delivery. I mean, there's with the ultra cold storage and how long they can be viable at freezer temps. It might be that wherever those pharmacies are distributing from, West River is just too far away in that supply chain to maintain the right temperatures for the right amount of time. But that's just a pure guess on my part. So I don't have any solid information for that. Outside of that, variants. People talk about COVID variants. Some of there's all sorts of variants out there. The question is, what variants are concerning? What variants have real world consequences? And so there's a couple that rise to the top in terms of variants that people are tracking or concerned about. One of those variants, right now, South Dakota isn't on the map for any of the variants. However, Minnesota, Colorado, Wyoming, it's all Iowa, you know, so several states that border South Dakota have seen those variants. So it's probably just a matter of time before 1 or 2 of those variants show up in our testing. But as of right now, none of those variants have shown up in South Dakota. That's pretty much what I have for my information, but certainly happy to stand for any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Lassiter.
So with those variances, are they seeing anything major with them as far as a higher infection rate or anything of that nature? Or are they just kind of monitoring them right now so they can kind of figure it out?
Yeah, so hard, peer-reviewed, yes, this is exactly what the variant means, doesn't exist. So it's still anecdotal observations. You know, so yeah, transmissibility. Is one variant more easy to transmit than another? Is one variant, does it create more significant illness? Does it have higher morbidity, mortality? Those are things that we get anecdotally from right now. Healthcare systems predominantly, or healthcare studies predominantly outside of the United States. So it's data that's coming from the UK, it's data that's coming from Africa. And it's not that we discard that data or ignore that data, but in terms of large, well-defined, well-controlled studies, there's not a whole lot of vetted or verifiable information out there.
Sure. Yes, Commissioner LaCroix.
Dustin, I just got a question on the process. You know, I haven't had the vaccine, but I've known a couple people that have gotten them, and each one's given me a different take on how it worked out for them. But you mentioned that once you got how the process worked, you know, you put it online, you show up for your appointment, and then there's a little waiting period, observation period that they do for you. Could you just explain a little bit of the process so people will have an understanding of what to expect when they do sign up and do show up?
Yep. So a couple of things there, and again, I'm not intending to step into Monuments Lane here, but I can relay some of the general information that, as I understand that. So Monument's been very clear that once you sign up, you've done what you need to do. There's people that continually ping Monument, hey, where am I at? Where am I at? Where am I at? Monument has assured us that once you've signed up in this system, we will contact you when it's your time. And again, anecdotally, from people that I have firsthand knowledge of, that's worked very well. They've signed up and Monuments called them when it was their time. The appointment is made. Certainly my chart is the most efficacious way to get that done through Monument, but your appointment is made. It's probably a pretty important piece to say when you have an appointment, you need to show up on time. That throughput and again, the storage and administration concerns are such that it really needs to be a significant issue there really needs to be a compelling reason for you not to make your appointment time. But there's a small waiting area. You check in, you go through the normal things that you would expect in a clinical setting, making sure you are who you are, going through consent and potential side effects and those types of things, some education on when you get your next shot, that type of thing. Then you go back into the main area. They do the procedure. They administer the vaccine, and then the most concerning thing with the vaccine right now, from a medical standpoint, is there are a very, very, very small a subset of patients that have had an allergic reaction to compounds in the vaccine. And so once you have your vaccine, it's kind of like when you give blood and they want to make sure you don't tip over after you give blood. After you get your vaccine, you sit in a waiting area for about 15 minutes, or recovery area for about 15 minutes, just so that they can be sure that you're not going to have any adverse reaction to any of the compounds that are in the vaccine. After that 15 minutes, you're free to go. I believe you have a card that says what type of vaccine you got, when you got it, and when your follow-up appointment, or date range at least for when your follow-up appointment should be for your second dose. One of the things, I guess, in that process for people to expect is the intent here is to build immunity to a pathogen. So the first dose typically is the first time your immune system is seeing this particular pathogen, unless you've had COVID-19 prior to your first dose. A lot of people talk about the second dose impacting the way they feel. A lot of people feel sick after their second dose, and I would say that, not I would say, but some of the information there is when you get your second dose and your body reacts, that's actually a good indicator that the first dose did what it was supposed to do in your body. Your immune system is building what it needs to build to combat the virus, and when you get that second dose, you have an immune response. Your body does what it's supposed to do, and you feel credit for a little while. So not everybody feels the same. Not everybody goes through that. Everybody's, there's infinite individual variability in terms of how people react to that.
Well, thanks for clarifying that, because you went on and explained some of the symptoms that some people have, and I appreciate the way you explained that. So the total length would probably be about a half hour from start to end.
I would say that's probably a half hour on the outside.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question.
Commissioner Lassner.
So with the reactions, are they saying that you can just take a different shot if you have an adverse reaction that's pretty bad? And when I say pretty bad, like if they determine that you're allergic to the components of vaccine A, would you take the other one, or do they not recommend that even at this point in time?
That is a fantastic question, Commissioner, and I don't know the answer to it. So I will look it up and ask a few folks and get back to you. Yes, if you have a serious allergic reaction to a specific vaccine, I can't imagine that they would give you the same vaccine again.
Correct.
And I also know that there's no guidance on mixing vaccines. If you get one series, you start with that series. So it's a fantastic question, and I don't know the answer. I'll get back to you.
Fair enough.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Oskinek.
Dustin, I haven't heard anything relative to the common flu. Normally, each year we're asked, the get your flu shot, get your flu shot. Now, is that just non-existent because of the COVID, or is it
Well,
still out there?
Yeah, the common flu is uncommon this year. You know, the guidance is certainly to still make sure that you get your flu shot. In terms of the COVID-19 vaccination, they just want to make sure that you have 14 days before and or after. So if you get your flu shot, make sure it's 14 days outside one way or the other of getting another vaccination. We have a few cases, but certainly not what an average year is. And again, the thinking is that everybody's heightened awareness of disease transmission and infection control is limiting the spread of our more common or seasonal pathogens. So yeah, right now, across the country, seasonal flu just isn't what we've seen in the past. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dustin. Item B.
and so this is the state. This is a emergency management performance grant. So that's the federal part of the grant that funds half of the salaries in EM. And this, in 2020, there were some supplemental appropriations through Congress. So there was a little bit more money in that pot that was distributed out to the states. As such, the state then, because it's a pass-through grant to the counties, the state advertised out to all the counties that participate in that program and said, hey, give us some projects for spending this COVID-related LEMPG money. And so we put in several projects. It's a 50% grant, and everything that we put in for was money that we'd already spent. So this isn't necessarily anything new. This is actually being able to recoup 50% of costs that we've already expended. So I believe at one of the previous commission meetings, several of these were brought before you and approved. This one, we just got a late notice that it was approved.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
move to approve the local emergency management performance grant, COVID-19 supplement grant funding subrecipient agreement with the state of South Dakota Office of Emergency Management.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Commission. Have a fantastic
Thank you.
Dustin.
Appreciate it, Dustin. Shannon, items from equalization.
Good morning, Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. So this just continues the abatements that we have this time of year, and we're going to see more of them. We've got a bunch of them that went to the city of Rapid City first. Now we're getting them back. One from Wall. We should expect Box Elder, Keystone, Hill City, wherever, and maybe there's even some more Rapid. I don't know, but it takes a while because if the property is located in a city, it's got to go to the city first. So that's why this wasn't all done last meeting. So I do want to point out the only difference here is that the abatement request from Wall actually comes to you from the property owner. This is a property in Wall where the property owner removed the buildings and we didn't know about it for several years. Continued to mail assessment notices and tax bills. This is an abatement for the most recent year. You've already granted an abatement for the previous years. So this is, now we can do this year if you choose. And that's just a technicality that because it wasn't a fault of my office and it wasn't something normal, I asked the property owner to request that abatement. The only difference is it's her signature on it instead of mine. The ones from Rapid, there's a lot of them there where the city of Rapid City purchased some property, and when they do, it becomes exempt. A couple of houses that burnt down and trailer houses that were hauled to the dump. So just ordinary stuff.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
can we take both of these together?
I think it's, are they not all included in the motion, the suggested motion?
They are.
So I'd accept a motion.
So, motion to move to approve the abatement application for tax year 20 for the following: City of Rapid City, 12 applications at 25,316.16, and the City of Wall, 1 application, $1,956.18 or 18 cents.
And so I have a motion from Commissioner Hadcock. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Laster. Just to point out, Kara, you have all of the numbers, I believe.
I have them broken down, yes.
Okay, so we do have all those broken down, that the 25,316 is broken down by each parcel in here, and will be included in the minutes that way. Any further questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thanks.
Items from the Human Resources. John?
Morning, Chair, Commissioners, John Morrow, Pennington County Human Resources. So today we have before you just a request to approve the new position titles so they can be added to our position listing for the county, as well as the DBM ratings for each. I would add that this is part of our recruiting or talent pipeline for the attorney's offices, PDO, and for the state's attorney. We'll be doing something similar for the state's attorney's office in the upcoming weeks.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock?
so how many people are still working? I mean, how's the office working? Maybe Eric Witcher can come up. Are you guys still, most of your people still working online, or are they working in the office?
Eric Witcher, Director of the Public Defender's Office. Excellent question. Currently, we are still having our attorneys primarily working from home and being in the office on an as-is basis. We are expecting, as Dustin just advised, that they will be able to begin vaccinations in April, and we're hoping we're going to have more of a back to normal plan as April and May progress. Typically, our interns come sometime it depends on when their final schedule is completed, when it's a start of a new pay period, et cetera, et cetera. So we work in the late spring for a start date for them. So my expectation is they would be able to be in our office through the course of this summer, and we wouldn't have them working remotely. We did try that this last year. We also cut the funding for it, so they were unpaid internships trying to work remotely, and frankly, that didn't work for them or us. So, but our expectation is we're going to have a normal summer.
Okay, that, I guess you answered my questions, because I was like, how do you get work experience online? I mean,
Yeah,
you can get some work experience listening to a certain extent, but you already know doing the job is a little bit different. So you just answered my questions of how are you going to do an internship with work experience when you're not going to be on the job. So if we could just keep an update on that and how that's working before we hire people that, you know, like I said, if we're doing online services is a little bit different than the work experience and paying people to do that.
Yeah, no, understood. And we've thought about this. You know, we've already interviewed for internships in this past fall, as well as now in the spring for the 1Ls. So we've been thinking about this carefully for a long time, and so we're, you know, we can set our schedule as we see fit. And so what we were going to be doing is making sure those interns are in office.
So how long have we been doing this?
We've been doing paid internships. I think it was the summer following our move into this building. So it's been at least 5 years since we've been doing paid internships. As John mentioned, this is an excellent pipeline for recruiting purposes for both our office as well as the state's attorney's office. We have 3 attorneys currently on staff right now that directly came from our internship program, and I'm sure the state either has as many or more.
Okay, so you just answered my next question.
Yeah.
How many have you hired from your recruitment? So you're ahead of that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner LaCroy?
I'd make the motion to approve the position titles of DBM ratings for the Public Defender's Office and update the position listings to file the Human Resources Office, Legal Intern 1 B22 and a Legal Intern 2 B23.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. I've got a motion by Commissioner LaCroy, second by Commissioner Laster. Any further discussion? Eric, you also you have a review committee
Mm-hmm.
that includes a commissioner, I think, on it.
Got two, yes.
Okay. Are you meeting on a regular basis at this point, or?
We do it as an ad hoc basis. Typically, every spring, we meet on an annual basis to go over the prior year annual report, as well as the next year's budget cycle. So it's a spring meeting that we hold. Otherwise, any member of the board can call another meeting. So
Yeah.
we'll plan to meet in April to May timeframe as soon as we get that first draft
Okay,
of the
because you
budget.
probably have two new commissioners on that for this year, I presume.
Let's see, I think, Mr. LaCroix, you're on the
If
board.
I may.
Yes, Commissioner
Evan
LaCroix.
Lloyd.
And
Yeah, it
Commissioner
was being Mark, and I think Deb's new to this year, but I think kind of what I've heard, Mark, is that they'd like to have, and quite frankly, for being on it for the last 2 or 3 years, is more than one meeting.
Oh, that'd be great.
You know, I know it's been tough. I've had to make some arrangements because it's been mostly budget hearings, but if we could possibly do a couple, at least,
Absolutely. If you want a quarterly meeting,
I think
Once a
maybe
month.
we should try that for the,
would you? That'd be
Yeah,
fine.
because, sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
Commissioner.
yeah, I agree, because I think Deb's really interested in this, and I think quarterly, even as long as we have an agenda and some updates, even if it's, I think we can sit down and talk about how that works, but.
Why
Is
don't
there
I'll go ahead and schedule one maybe sometime in March then, and then we can start that, and you guys can decide as a board how often you want to meet.
So is
Sounds
it by state law, or is there a law that we have to meet at least once a year or anything? It's just
No.
that we do it and we
Mhm.
set up. Yeah, that would be nice, because I was just telling Gary, we don't really, we don't see you guys much.
Yeah.
We don't really hear a lot of stuff unless it's, something really controversial. It's nice to meet some of your people and to see kind of what you do and what kind of cases you work on and stuff. So
That'd
it would be
great.
nice to meet at least once a month, just to have updates and see how everybody's doing and kind of build a relationship with the commission a little bit as well, so.
Sounds great.
Appreciate that,
Just a
Terry.
little.
And I led people a little bit astray here. We've got a motion on the table we need to take care of first.
Sorry.
Any further discussion relative to the motion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And March would be good, Eric, please.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. Next item, Highway Department, Joe Miller.
Good morning, Commission. Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway. First up in front of you is our annual authorization to purchase corrugated metal pipe and/or culverts, as otherwise known. Travis learned a new term last week when he was on on our tour. So we've been purchasing from these guys for quite some time. I didn't have time to go back and look at the history. So there's about a 10 to 15% increase in price over last year. In 2020, we didn't purchase any culverts. We did make a large order in 2019, and our inventory is still sufficient. So this is just in case we do need to purchase those.
Joe, where's True North Steel located?
Huron, South Dakota,
Okay.
is where their main plant is. They have a branch out here, but their manufacturing plant is in
Okay. Very
Huron. That's why it's a Beetle County bid, as Mark explained to me earlier this morning, because I had that same question. How does Beetle County get stuck with doing this every year? So,
good. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Is there a motion?
move to authorize the Highway Department to purchase corrugated metal pipe from True North Steel here on South Dakota, utilizing the Beetle County, South Dakota bid award on January 19th, 2021.
Second.
And a second. I got a motion and a second. Further discussion.
Chairman?
I have just one more
Commissioner
thing. We are exploring, True North does modular bridges. We're exploring the idea of purchasing one of those modular bridges to be installed by county forces in spring or in this construction season, actually out in Commissioner Lassiter's district on Trask Road. So be a new adventure for us, and we're still kind of looking into it and seeing what all it's going to take. So,
Super. Commissioner Adcock.
So the corrugated metal pipe is for culverts?
correct.
Don't they have new remember we looked maybe a year or two ago at looking at different culverts, and that might be more efficient, more effective than just using the metal.
Right, we did look at it, you know, they, they probably last longer, but, our biggest concern is, you know, especially up in the hills, would be like forest fires, stuff like that. Would they melt? You know, so even with a grass fire, you know, and for the cost, you can almost put in, if I remember right, going back from memory, but for the cost of those high density or high density polymer culverts that we saw at the road conference, you could almost replace buy two or three corrugated metal pipes for the cost of one of those. And we've got culverts out there that have been in the ground 30, 40, 50 years. So at this time, you know, while it's cool technology and up and coming, I don't think it was something that the county wanted to pursue at this point.
So is it like a fiberglass?
It's a,
Polymer
I don't
is more
remember
of a
exactly,
plastic.
it's a polymer of some sort.
Okay.
It's
Jerome?
And
Yeah.
plastic.
Jerome Harvey, fire administrator. I have personal experience in northern Florida and central and southern Georgia with high-density polymer culverts, and they will burn and fail on you in fire conditions. And that becomes the most expensive piece. And I can't tell you the amount of money we had to spend there to work around those things to get equipment in to either defend communities or fight the fire itself, because those high-density polymer culverts will fail. And I've even got some pictures of very expensive equipment stuck inside of those places where they burn out. So I would not encourage the county to go that way.
Thank you, Jerome.
Hey,
Okay.
Okay,
that's my question.
that's a good answer, Doug. Good question.
Go.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve this. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Next up, we have the right-of-way certification for Thunderhead Falls Bridge applications, big grant applications. With this, we have the right-of-way secured for Bridge 316. The other bridge we do not have secured. So if you'd like to take them separately, or together, we've done, you know, I don't know, I guess I would ask Jay's opinion on this one, but I don't know if the board would be appeased to vote and approve both of these right-of-ways today, sign the one and wait until we secure the right-of-way for the other. We have to have these to get the bid-ready points. We have to have this in by the 25th of February for the Transportation Committee or Commission to consider these bid-ready. So that's an extra 10 points on the big applications. I'm not sure how, I guess, crucial it will be, but we do have it for 316, we just do not have it for 317, 318. The landowner is in talks with Brittany Planning and Zoning. They want the material that we're using for the bypass to be stockpiled on their property, which we're fine with, but they're in a floodplain, so they need to have the proper permitting and all that stuff to do that. So we've been in pretty tight negotiations with them, going back and forth. They just need to get their permits and ducks in an order, or ducks in a row for us to do that. So
So a quick question on this. Could we do this so that we approve 316 and then put some language in here that says, for the second one, contingent upon approval with landowner? Okay.
Chairman.
So the motion would basically read, move to approve the right-of-way certificate for bridges 52-316-316 and contingent upon approval with landowner of 52-317-318 on Thunderhead Falls Road.
So moved.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Question after you're done, please.
Commissioner Hadcock.
Does the price change on that or anything? The certificates, I didn't look in the packet, I apologize. Are they the amount or anything? Is that something that would change on the certificates, or certificates are?
No, these right-of-way certificates are just to show the state that we certify that we obtained the right-of-way for these bridges.
And it doesn't have an amount
No.
for buying those or anything? It's just,
We're not, I guess I get where you're going. I didn't pull how much we paid for the other right-of-way. I think one of them was the Salvation Army, and I don't know how much we're paying for these two. But the amount, it should be, I guess I don't want to get into that.
basically, we're not gonna be changing that amount
No.
based on the second certificate. It will be the same amount. No matter
Correct.
what. That was, thank you.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Thank you. Item C, Joe.
Item C, this is for Pennington County to sign up with the state to do a transportation study. The last time this was done was back in 2012. So by the time it's finished, it'll be approximately 10 years since it's been done. We feel with the doing this in conjunction with our federal highways local road safety plan, we can get a good idea of growth and where they're seeing a need. There's an opportunity to do a corridor study on some roads. We've requested Nemo Road, 1416, and Old Hill City Road, kind of where we're seeing a lot of the growth happen, to do a corridor study to see what might be needed in the next 20, 30, 40 years. So that's what this plan will look at, and the local road safety plan that the federal highway is doing is more looking at the safety aspects of our roadways, crashes, stuff like that. We're estimating the last time this was done in 2012 was $200,000. Cost the county approximately $40,000, a 20% match. We're approximating that this will cost between $250,000 and probably $300,000 in today's dollars. So probably $50,000 to $60,000 county costs. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Oskinek.
would this corridor study align with our road committee that we're trying to form?
It very well
Where
could,
the two
yes.
could work together and use that data to help guide the proposed road committee?
Correct. And, when this was done in 2012, Heine didn't have a corridor study done. So I need to look in to see exactly what their corridor study will entail to answer that question 100%. But I believe it would work in conjunction with the road committee. Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Oskinek to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner LaCroix. Any further questions?
Just one, sir.
Commissioner Adcock.
Joe, do you have that in your budget?
It wouldn't come out of 2021 budget, so it would come out of 2022. So we still have an opportunity to budget for it, and it will be in there.
Thank you, sir.
Further questions? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Item number 17, request to relocate cattle guard on Babcock Road. Mr. J.C. Shear?
Jace Shear. Yep. Good morning. I come from out that area right there, and I come with the request to see if you guys would approve the relocating of that cattle guard to kind of better accommodate for a lot of reasons, actually. As you guys have probably see there in front of you, there's some pictures of it full of gravel right now as we speak. And I personally have funded the project to clean the cattle guard the last 3 years, and relocating it would help probably more than just that. It kind of sits on a hill and around the corner right there, and it's a little sunk in a little bit. I worry about it being somewhat of a danger hazard a little bit, but that is my request that you guys approve a work order to relocate the cattle guard. And I received a letter that said that all subsequent costs should fall on me, but I don't know what those subsequent costs should be. I'd like to have a better idea of what that is.
Joe.
So, Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway. Talking with Mark this morning, and the last time we even purchased one, a DOT compliant, they're between $15,000 and $20,000 to make a DOT, to purchase a DOT compliant one. The county highway's never done a relocation of a cattle guard, so we feel that this needs to be treated as a new installation rather than a removal in a new installation. And this would, this doesn't benefit county highway in any way, so we don't feel that the cost should come from the county taxpayers.
Chairman.
Commissioner Adcock.
So when was this last done? Do either of you know?
I cleaned it last spring.
Meaning when was it built or put in?
Oh, I guess I don't know when the.
Mark, do you have that? I think it was in the packet with our. When was this cattle guard put in?
I didn't see it in there, Joe.
Hang on a second. Let me see if I can grab it.
Otherwise, I'd read it. And then who paid for it, Joe?
So the livestock guard policy states that the landowner will pay up to $300, and the rest of it's on the county.
So
Of the cleaning and maintenance.
Okay, but if you put it in, he'd have to pay 15 or 20,000
to relocate it, to put this into a different spot. Yes, he would. The policy that's in place states that any new installation is the burden of the person requesting the new installation.
You understand that, Mr. Shear?
Well, I understand it. I guess I don't know if I fully agree with it. I guess it's just an awful lot of money. I feel like, for me personally, to try to front, I guess. And the cattle guard that's there, I believe it passed inspection this fall. They go around every year, I believe, and inspect these cattle guards, and it passed. So it looks to me like the biggest share of the cost is going to fall on the new cattle guard. And I personally feel like that if the county feels like a new cattle guard needs to be put in, I'm sure not trying to shuck any responsibility, but it's an awful lot of money, I guess, is all I'm saying. The same cattle guard would work, but if a new one needs to be put in, I think that's. I don't really want to have to pay for that, I guess.
So Joe, is that what we're saying? Is that there does need to be a new one?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the when that cattle guard was put in. If you give me a moment here.
So when we don't know, and who paid for it based on that cost?
Mark, do you have any idea when,
And then we remove it, we take out everything out of the old one for those costs for the 15 or 20?
for a DOT compliant or a DOT cattle guard, it's between 15 and 20,000. There's about 8 or 9,000 for the concrete bases that need to go in, which basically Mr. Shear has stated that this cattle guard fills with gravel. A new DOT style cattle guard has concrete on the lip, so it's a lot less maintenance. It doesn't get as much gravel in it.
So if you just fixed it, basically, I mean, what are you saying needs to be fixed on it? Or are you not
Nothing
saying?
needs to be fixed. He's just requesting to relocate it to a different, I'm assuming, I guess I don't know what the reasoning for the relocation is.
Well, the reasoning for the relocation is where the road goes, the fence that lays on the east side of that road right there is it's been under snow my entire life. And if you relocated that cattle guard about a quarter mile down that road, we would no longer need a fence there. We could just butt up to that cattle guard and it would be open range like the rest. It's all open range from Creighton all the way to that point. But, back in those days, there was smaller ranches and smaller parcels, so that's it's funny, there's a cattle guard and then about 300 yards, there's another cattle guard, which is this cattle guard. So really, I mean, if you looked at it, you'd say, well, it don't need to be there. You know what I mean? It falls on a corner and right down a hill, so.
Bottom line, do you want it removed?
We would remove that one, and I would just request that we put it down and I've worked with the county foreman in Wall. He knows my request on kind of where I'd like to have it put, and he has approved that location. And I guess the only reason I'm really here, I guess, is that 20,000 or 15,000 kind of scares me a little bit. So I just would like to have a little bit. I'd like to have it nailed down, I guess, where I stand on that.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
So if I understand it, Joe, this thing needs a lot of maintenance. I mean, it's full now.
And
I guess that's
I
a
would
matter
look-
of opinion.
Okay, well, let's follow me. And I'm assuming that the county is responsible for maintaining that, and I'm assuming the county originally installed it, so I'm suggesting the county participate in the cost, don't put it all on the landowner.
Well, the cattle guards, as I stated earlier, the cattle guard, moving this cattle guard doesn't benefit Pennington County in any way. The cattle guard is fine where it's at. We don't have to clean it. I haven't looked and seen, I guess, it sounds like he's cleaned it the last couple of years.
The county participated in one of the 3 years. The other 2 times we couldn't get together on a schedule, and I had cattle in there, so we actually assumed the responsibility fully.
How much was that?
It was $800 both times, and then I paid $300 to the county the one time. I guess as far as benefiting the county, I think that ease of maintenance would benefit everybody. Myself, I mean, I think that that'd be a benefit enough.
Do you have a problem paying the $300 for him to clean it again? Instead of relocating at 15 or 20,000?
Yeah, a problem with paying that, no, but I guess I'd have to put the fence back in. We pulled the fence out there because there was no fence left really to speak of.
Is a fence cheaper than a cattle guard?
It's about a wash, really. It's about 10,000, I guess, is about what I'd come up with was going to cost. So, I mean, I am in a predicament here a little bit, but we always work real diligently with the county as far as easements are concerned. We operate a lot of land around there, and appreciate you guys a lot. And I just asked for any assistance on this. Would sure help me out.
I guess I'll read right from the cattle or the livestock guard policy that you guys have approved. I don't know exactly the date when it was approved, but replacement, the Pennington County Highway Department shall determine in cooperation with the affected landowners when a livestock guard needs to be replaced. The benefited landowners shall be responsible for the cost of all required materials, and the county shall perform the installation and be responsible for the cost associated therewith.
And the last one, sorry, Chairman.
Commissioner.
Sorry. So the last one we did was a relocation, if I remember, in Pace Law, and they paid for it.
That was a new installation.
Okay.
Of the one was there's 2 new installations and a replacement with a wider one for Buffalo Guard, basically.
And they paid for it all?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Questions? Commissioner Roscoe.
Is that 15 to 20,000? Does that also encompass taking the old cattle guard out?
No, so the removal, the county remove the cattle guard at no cost because it's removing a liability. Like I said earlier, we've never done a relocation of a cattle guard. So, this relocation of this cattle guard doesn't benefit the county highway in any manner. We're still going to have a cattle guard. We're still going to have the liability. Therefore, the cost should be on the landowner.
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Eckhart.
So, Mr. Scheer, what we're trying to say is the county doesn't need a cattle guard, you do.
Yes, ma'am, I
So
understand
that's
that.
why we wouldn't pay for a cattle guard to be put in for your land, basically, and your cattle.
Well, then may I request that we use the cattle guard that was approved in the fall, the one that's there in place right now? Because the cattle guard's fine. I think if we added the concrete edges on each side and like I said, it passed inspection in the fall. And I'd sure pay for those costs to relocate it. I'd definitely do that. Because like I said, it looks to me like the blunt majority of the cost is indeed the cattle guard itself.
Guess I'm confused. So you said to put the cement on it and then something about relocation.
Well, we'd use the same cattle guard.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But it'd be in a different spot. You see, that's what I'm here for, is to take that cattle guard out of that spot on that corner where it's always full and just put it on the straightaway on the hill.
Joe, have you done that before?
I don't want to make things
He wants
too
to use
confusing.
the old one and put it back.
So
in
I
a
guess,
different area.
I don't know, Mark, do you have any idea what the width of that one is?
I think Mark Chalk, Pennington County Highway. If I recall, it was 7.5 foot wide and 24 foot, 7.5 foot deep.
So I would request, guys, maybe that we continue this and then you guys figure out with Mr.
does appear that the current one has wooden bases rather than
Yeah,
concrete.
to
So-
see what the solution is, or see, basically what he's thinking, and then come back. I know he wants to relocate, but now he's asking you a few other things. Then he also can look at the cost and think about if he really wants to move forward with this, based on your decision and, when we meet with him, Joe.
I believe it's on the application, but it states on the application that all new installations of cattle guards will be a DOT compliant or a DOT style. I think what he's asking is maybe to reuse the metal grates. I guess we would just ask that, I think we could probably come to a compromise on that as long as we install the concrete bases.
Okay, so I'd move to continue, and then you guys can have a meeting, Joe, and then, Mr. Shear and you are both on the same page, if that's okay, board. So let's make a move.
I've got a motion to continue this item.
I'd second it, Mr. Chair.
I've got a,
Next meeting, Joe, okay?
March 2nd.
March 2nd? Mr. Shear?
Yes, ma'am, that'll work.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
yes, Commissioner Lassiter.
Can I be involved in some of that conversation just since it's out in my area so I can have an understanding of what's going on with it as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any further questions?
I just have one comment. I guess Mr. Shear, you are aware that with the new installation of the cattle guard or the relocation, any subsequent maintenance or anything like that is going to be on the county won't participate any longer.
Oh, I see. So they won't clean it no longer either at the
Correct.
$300 deal?
Correct.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
So we're on
All
the
those
same
in favor
page.
of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Guys, thank you.
Item 18, Pennington County Housing and Redevelopment Commission appointment. I'll open it for discussion.
I'll make a motion, Chair.
I've got a motion from,
Move to appoint Commissioner Ron Roskinek to the Pennington County Housing and Redevelopment Commission for a term of 5 years effective April 20th, 21.
is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to appoint Ross Connect to the Pennington County Housing Redevelopment Commission for a term of 5 years, starting April 20th, 2021.
So, Chairman,
Further discussion, Commissioner Adcock.
Ron, we interview people, and people didn't see us visit about this last time. So if you could just tell us why you want to be on there and, why you think we should appoint you.
Well, as I said about a year and a half ago, my involvement with that particular organization started on a complaint basis, and I got fairly involved in while attending these meetings as a visitor, then we got into some other issues with the LEAP, and it seemed like we were just butting heads, and I felt that committee or that commission needed jump start. And so in the last few months, the former director, after 25 years, he retired, and we got a new director, Brian. I think he's going to be a great director, and I think as part of that commission that we can move this, we're going to revitalize that organization and move it forward in a better direction than it was a few years ago.
Thank you, Commissioner Roskinek. I agree with Commissioner Roskinek and have visited with and seen Ron. There's been actually there more times than I have at this redevelopment commission in the past. I believe that they've done some really good work, but it's time to move even further ahead. And I believe with Commissioner Roskinek and the new director and the board that we have, it'd make a huge difference for his appointment. Based on his experience and his things that he's had in the past in order to help the people in this organization, not the board, but the people that in our community that need other stuff done. And he's had that experience in different buildings and development. That I think his experience will help us move farther ahead to help the people in this housing development area.
Thank you. The Pennington County Housing and Redevelopment Commission really has little to do with the county per se, county government per se. but it is the authority of the county commission to make the appointments to this commission. And I therefore also agree with what both Commissioner Adcock and Commissioner Roskinick had to say in regard to this, and I appreciate Commissioner Roskinick's willingness to step forward and be a part of that too.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner LaCroix.
I totally agree with, I mean, you guys have got some good comments. I think the reason why I voted, well, exact reason why I voted against this is because this was a process that we went through earlier when I started on. And, you know, most boards that we do have, I mean, we're lucky to get applicants that put in for them. And I understand that. But part of the process, two of the toughest ones we do have that I've seen since I've been on here has been the Housing Development and the Planning Commission. And so, you know, we took a look at creating a process where, you know, people would apply and a separate group would interview, so to make the applicant more comfortable. You know, I think at the last meeting I may have misstated some stuff. Maybe I was, you know, my whole intent on this is that we had a process that if, you know, if one falls out during the period, I have really no problem with us as a commission looking for the best applicant, making that appointment, and some of these other boards we have problems with. But in some of these very important ones, Travis went through this on his last one. You know, he went through the interviewing process on the planning commission and then come back and we had, what, 3 or 4 applicants for that position, and we had that discussion. I'm just with the process. You know, I have no problem with Ron. I know Ron will do a really good job. It's the whole process. I would have liked to see the application process and brought forward private interviews, and if there was none, I would have had no problem with this. You know, that's my whole concern. It's not with Ron or anything. It's just the process. I felt the process when we went through it. We'd asked the applicants how it went for them, and they appreciated having to sit down and go through it.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinick.
And I understand Lloyd's point of view. I totally do. So Lloyd, thank you for just being a watchdog because, you know, it's well taken.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I'll vote no on this. Just, I wanted to give a little background to some of you guys, what happened way back, why we did that. There's exceptions to every rule. And apparently, the commission feels there's an exception to this one, but I wanted to keep us focused on some of the things that we've done.
I appreciate that.
So, Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock.
I agree with the process, Commissioner LaCroix, and I appreciate you bringing that forward. But the process on this is appointed in terms of commissions for vacancy. The commissioners constituting a commission shall be appointed by the mayor or chairman of the board of county commissioners with approval of the governing body. So the process in which we're following is the rules and regulations of state law. So not disagreeing with what you're saying for the applicant and how they do things, but we also are following the process of which this is done. We changed our own process to a certain extent, but I didn't think we had to do it every time if we have a different process in place in order to move forward. So I'm not in disagreement with you at all, but I believe we are following the process.
And I just made my case. I mean,
You're
there's
okay.
exceptions to every rule, and I didn't
Yeah.
say we were veering from any process or doing anything illegal.
Yeah.
It's just something we're doing for a reason.
Yeah, just for clarification, I did bring this forward 2 weeks ago. At that point in time, it was determined to bring this to the commission for a vote at this meeting, and that's what we're doing. And it is following state law as to how we're doing it. So I would ask if there's any further questions or comments. Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Have motion passed 4-1, Commissioner LaCroix voting no. Item 19, thank you, Ron, for your willingness to do it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Item number 19 is 2021 legislative session. We're really just past the middle point of the legislative session. There's a lot of bills that are being worked through the mechanism of the committees on the Senate and the House. We have, it doesn't appear that the two primary bills that we brought forward, one relative to allowing us to have meetings in a location other than the courthouse, to amend that statute to make it correct for us and about, I think, 5 other counties. And I think this was just something that was missed over the years, or so it's not a major change, but it could be a legal issue if we allowed it to continue. So I think this is a good move to do that. Also, we have we initiated a fireworks bill, which Senator Castleberry is being the lead sponsor on, which just doesn't change anything about our ordinance, except it puts the penalty back in the state law in which our ordinance references. So we need to have that. Also, I know from phone calls that I've received, there are people that are interested in us taking a review of that ordinance after this to see if there's any adjustments that need to be made to that. Obviously, part of the issue that we're dealing with now is dryness in the country. And if that should continue up until into June, we may have some issues relative to fireworks that we want to be dealing with too. The other thing, there's a number of bills that I think that we probably have certainly an interest in, but as they're moving through the process, I'm not going to report on every one of those because there's a lot of them. But one of the things I will talk about just briefly is there's a number of pieces of legislation in relative to Box Elder and Ellsworth Air Force Base. And this is all part of their, the entire package amounts to a little over $20 million that's being asked for various different projects, including the sewer project for Box Elder. And that does come up for committee hearing next Monday. And unless this commission objects, I will be there to testify in favor of Box Elder's request for the dollars on that. And I think the dollar amount on that is, this is about 6 million, I think, I believe. I didn't refresh my memory on that before that, but this is really what's happening with Box Elder is they're trying to, and I think they're doing a good job in going about it correctly. They're trying to prepare themselves for the increase at the base that's going to take place with the B-21s coming in. And obviously the base is doing a number of things. Ellsworth Development Authority have some legislation in also that's going through the process. And in fact, it's been, I guess, 3 weeks ago now that Commissioner Ross Connect and Joe Miller and myself went to Pierre for a meeting on that. So there's a lot of things taking place. State is dealing with some one-time money. And so most of the focus has been put on those, on the money issues. A lot of other things probably won't get a lot of consideration this year, which I'm not saying that's necessarily bad. So, okay, Lloyd is, just pulled this up for me. Yeah, this is
5.8 million for Ellsworth infrastructure.
how much was it?
5.8.
Oh, 5.8. Okay. So I wasn't too far off at the
No.
6 million. So, but yeah, so anyways, does anybody have any objection to me testifying on behalf of Box Elder next Monday?
I appreciate you going down there, Gary.
Okay, thank you.
One question, Gary.
Yeah.
What is the final number that the state received in COVID money?
You know, I don't know if we've actually
75.
heard the final number. I think that there was, initially they were talking about 250 million. Then I understand that they've now increased that by about another 125 million. So as to what the actual figure is, I don't really know. I presume the legislature knows at this point in time. I don't.
Thank you.
I would ask Commissioner Lassiter, because he's been working on some legislation also that involves taxation for ag properties. And if you would just, Travis was in Pier last week working specifically with legislators on some legislation. So Travis, would you like to just add in on your part of that process too?
Sure. And I was just going to ask a quick question here. We got this Capital Watch, and I noticed 1085, which is the one that I've been paying attention to primarily and talking to Representative Chafee about, and how it was going to negatively impact the ag status of lands here in Pennington County. It looks like, at least when I talked to him on Thursday, he actually already developed another amendment to that particular bill, adding some specific language to the definition of what's considered ag land, and then removing all of Section 2, which would have actually impacted about 10,400 acres of ag land just in Pennington County that would have been removed from ag status that actually is being utilized for ag purposes. So he and I had that conversation, and it looks like if 1085 goes down that route and it doesn't change too much, that would be something that we would be supportive of with the new language. If it doesn't go that route, I would still encourage us not to support that particular bill unless it goes forward that way. The only other concern is, and Gary, you and I talked about it, we talked about it last night at the Central States Fair, is it should just probably stop being piecemealed, and let's just have a comprehensive overhaul on it, and kind of figure out what's the right wording, and so we can move forward for several years without people tweaking it every couple of years. So
Travis, is 1235, is that to do with that at all, providing the platting of certain land without infrastructure requirements? Did they put that, is that different?
I am not familiar with 1235, if that's what you said. The two that are very similar are House Bill 1149 and House Bill 1085. I don't know what the end result is with 1149. I do believe that it's not going to be heard. I think it's going to be put aside, and there's going to be some conversations with the representative and the timber companies, because they want to kind of fix it not the way that it was going. So I think there's going to be some discussion on that one. But it has similar language in it that 1085 did. So when I was talking to him about it, that's when he let me know that that was the plan with 1149. So we'll keep an eye on that one too, because it could impact again ag status. But I'm not sure of the one. What was that number you said there?
1235.
1235 is for municipalities platting.
Not to do with county, because
It specifically speaks of municipalities.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I think, we'll continue to monitor the various pieces of legislation and where it's at in committees and so forth. And certainly going to try to represent our constituents on these issues, like Travis has pointed out, that would have a negative impact on nearly 700 property owners in Pennington County.
Well, Chairman, I think Jerome Harvey's here to update us on some of the stuff he's working on, if that's okay.
You bet. Jerome.
Mr. Chairman, Jerome Harvey, Pennington County Fire. Just want to update you, as we talked about earlier, about some of the mental health issues that are going on at the legislature as far as support for mental health for our first responders statewide. House Bill 1063, which deals with an insurance package that would take it beyond, or give some long-term insurance for some of our personnel that are dealing with PTSD or other mental health issues as a result of line of duty. And the other one is House Bill 1064, which would allow some funding to develop peer support teams and critical incident stress debriefing teams statewide. Both of these are going to House Appropriations tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be there in support of that. Both of these bills, the Municipal League did support both of these bills.
What was that, 1014?
It's House Bill 1063.
Okay.
And House Bill 1064. Both of those bills came out of the summer study that we participated in. Had some very good West River participation and county participation in both of those bills. The other one that we're keeping an eye on, is Senate Bill 149. And what that does is even out the insurance tax rebates from fire insurance rebate money. That money was originally set up to support the firemen's school. Originally, actually dates back to territorial law and came over with the Government Act in 1889 to support the Firemen's Association. Some of that funding, a percentage of that funding actually goes to our fire departments. A percentage of funding gets put into the general fund, which it was never originally set up for. And the Firefighters Association in the state, which is responsible to put on the state fire school and our district fire schools, has asked that that be set at a percentage. In 1995, Governor Jankalo set that at $30,000, and it's been $30,000 since 1995. And they're looking at costs of between $130,000 to $140,000 to pull off state fire school alone. So they're trying to get that back and get that evened up with everybody else that's taking a percentage out of that fire insurance rebate money.
So Jerome, how much is any of these bills increase the cost for the county?
No, again, and that's been kind of a misnomer that we were down trying to get county money involved in that. That's not true. The House Bill 1063 and 1064 are both asking for money out of the state budget, whether it's CARES Act money or where they come up with it's only $400,000 between both those bills. The other one is money that was originally set up in state law well over 100 years ago now, that money for insurance, for fire insurance premium tax would actually go to support the Firemen's Association, or now it's the Firefighters Association.
Which is state?
Yes. Well, it's the state legislature set up so that the Firefighters Association would in fact be the responsible party for that. We're talking legislation now, and that's over 100 years old. And then that money was taken away in the mid-90s, early 90s, and set up as just $30,000, and you just can't pull off a school, statewide school, for that kind of money.
Thank you.
So,
Chairman.
Commissioner LaCroix.
I don't have any questions for you, Jerome. Mine's more of the process, what we're doing here. I think this is probably one of the best discussions this commission's ever had on legislations that I've sat through. And I guess I'm looking for at the chair. I mean, Gary, you represented some peer. You know, it's been very rare, Holly, that we've done letters of support or a resolution of support of things. I mean, do you think it's going to weigh more weight if we did a resolution of support for SB 151, a couple of these, and add those in? And that's a letter that not only you could carry in support when you testify, but I could attach to an email to my contacts and other people that they may want to, as far as a letter of support. I'm just throwing that out there. See what your thoughts, Gary. You've got the knowledge of most of this.
Well, it's a good question, a good point, Lloyd. I think anytime that we as a commission want to express support or non-support for a piece of legislation, resolution is very positive in nature of a way to do that. So,
Thank you. My suggestion, because that's where I was kind of going, is I see at least three of them that, the SB 151, SB 144, which is the Crisis Care Center bill. I don't know if that's been seen already or not, and I'd be in support of everything Jerome said if we had them all bundled together. I don't know if that's possible. I'm just throwing that out there.
well, I'm sure that it's possible that we could do it. In fact, we could probably, several of these are going to be before appropriations. Mm-hmm. And so I would think we might want to take a resolution, encompass these various bills in one resolution, and address it to the Joint Appropriations Committee, expressing our support.
In the past, the Board of Commissioners has typically just made a motion to be in support of or in opposition of a particular bill. And when we get into documents like resolutions and things like that, we get tied up with open meetings laws and getting it approved in time. And so it's worked better in the past for the timing, that the board just takes a position of support or opposition, and then that legislative liaison goes and does what they need to do, whether it's a letter from the commission that's already been authorized because you're in support of or in opposition. But to get into those formal documents is where I get concerned with board approval and timing and all of that, so.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Appreciate that. Good
But,
advice, and I think that's probably,
yeah,
that was probably discussed long ago, and it was a very appropriate way
Yeah,
of
so
doing
if the
it,
board
so.
wants to go on record supporting specific bills, absolutely, and then I work with Gary or whoever the legislative liaison being to prepare whatever documents they feel they need when they go up to peer to testify.
and then they have all our names on it.
Yeah,
For the most part, when I testify, I indicate that I'm testifying as the chairman, but on behalf of the county commission from Pennington County for the pieces of legislation. If there is legislation that I think needs to be heard, and I haven't had an opportunity to be at the commission meeting for that, then I do not reference the rest of the commission. I reference only myself on that.
I totally agree, and thanks for bringing that up, because I think you're right. I'm just thinking, in the past, when we can do that support, I get reached out to quite a bit, saying, Lloyd, would you contact so-and-so? And if I had that letter, I could just, from home. But I do agree with how it's going, but resolution, no, but letters of support, would we have to vote on each one, or just
we
kind of?
have in the past of a specific position, because I remember one year where there was one commissioner that was against something and the rest of the board was in support of it. So by getting that formal motion on the books, it was the position of the board
Okay.
to move forward.
Is the board okay with me making a motion?
Yes.
I'd recommend that this board support SB 151, which is the Ellsworth Infrastructure Support. House Bill Senate Bill 144, Regional Crisis Stabilization Unit. And I would say, Jerome, you said House Bill 1063,
House Bill 1063,
House Bill 1064,
1064.
and SB 149,
That's correct, Commissioner.
those bills.
Okay, I have a motion to giving support from this commission for Senate Bills 151, 144, 149, and House Bills 1063 and 1064.
It would be our suggestion to take them individually, just in case there is one commissioner that doesn't feel the same.
Okay. So we'll do it this way. I'll take a motion from Commissioner LaCroix to indicate support for Senate Bill 151. Is there a second?
Or Chairman,
Commissioner Hancock.
just a question. I don't know enough about these bills except for the basis to be voting that I support them at this time. So I'm not going to put my name on stuff at this point. I like the crisis care. I like what we're doing on some of it, but I didn't read through all these bills to be able to make a good judgment. Crisis care stabilization unit is a great idea, but I'd like to know the costs and other things before I support it, making people think that I'm for it already. I am for the concept. I am for what we're moving forward with to figure out what's that best option, but I'm not really ready to vote on that either. So it's not like I'm against that or anything else on this bill, but I'm not going to vote to support these at this time until I figure out what they all entail. So, like I said, I didn't read all these. There's how many 50 bills there? So or more.
No.
So for me, it's just like, Gary, if you support it and there are things that we need to support, I mean, we can tell Gary to support them or help with it. But like I said, unless we get emails or something else that show all the bills and what he's going to support and why, I guess I'm not willing to put my name on.
There's probably over 500 of them.
Thank you, sir. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman. I think I'd have to echo Commissioner Hadcock's statement on that one, because diving into 1085, I got tuned onto it from different manners, but then I had to dive into it, and then I was supportive of it with the First Amendment, but then I didn't realize how after that First Amendment, how it actually was impactful. So then I had to go out and do some even more research before I could see the impact, and then that's how I found out that it actually impacted a lot more land than what even the legislators thought that it may have impacted. So not reading these bills, it's kind of hard for me to say. I would be kind of going against what I just did for the two that I've been working on, to say I support them without knowing the full impact. So I have to agree on that aspect of it. That's why I tried to make sure that I put together a package. Holly made it sound so much better than I did to send out to all you guys, so y'all could at least have the overview for the ones that I was particularly working on. So.
Okay, okay. Commissioner LaCroix, do you want to move forward with your motion? Or?
Well, we're kind of contradicting ourselves. We're telling you can go to Pier and support SB 151. Your commission says it's okay, but yet we're not really to sign off on it. I can understand I kind of put too many out there. Maybe we need to just stick to one, and then in our future, we look at that. But I do think the infrastructure is a screaming needed for that community. So I support that. I've been involved with some of that stuff. The other stuff with the crisis care, I'm okay with not doing something with that. I mean, that's something they're going to divvy out, but that infrastructure is important. And I guess I got to look at, Jerome just gave us a report of what's going on with his bills. If we want to hold off on that and get some information on those, I'm okay with that. But I would, I guess, look forward to go forward with SB 151 with the Ellsworth infrastructure.
Problem with any legislation is that it's always subject to amendment at any level. And so what you originally support or don't support in a bill may change as it starts going through the process. And so without, continually rereading and figuring out if amendments have been attached and so forth, it is difficult to basically stay completely on top of everything. So,
Chairman, I'm not in disagreement with Lloyd on 151, but I also believe that some of the stuff just shows through our support of TIFs and different things that we have done for those projects and different things. So kind of shows our support as well anyway. But the bottom line, like you said, Lloyd, is just like Gary said, all the information and the amendments and stuff. We might change our mind in between, but we just said we supported it. So they might do something not so nice to them or something in the end, or not what they said they were going to do. And then we end up supporting something that they might change.
and quite frankly, my testimony on 151 basically did reflect the fact that we had approved the TIF, the commission approved the TIF, which indicated our support. I don't think that bill has been amended at this point in time. If it has, it's probably minor amendments. Okay, I think that unless the commission tells me something different, I think the direction for me is fairly clear as far as what we have here. I would ask Travis to continue to monitor those and work on those pieces of legislation. That certainly has an impact on a lot of our property taxpayers in the county. So, anything further on that?
The only thing I'd say is, Gary, I guess if this goes to what, you got my support when you're testified.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroix. Okay. A suggestion. We are past 10:30. Would you like to hold items 20, 21, 22 towards to the end?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I've got them.
I think you have a motion on the floor that you need to
Right,
dispose
Lloyd's
of
got a
right
motion.
now.
There was.
I didn't think there was a second.
Died because of a lack of.
I don't know that, there wasn't.
I don't remember a second in there.
So, yeah, the motion by Commissioner LaCroix dies as a lack of a second.
So we're going to table 21 and 22, sir? Or 20?
20, 21, 22.
That'd be my motion.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to move those items, table those items until later on in the agenda. So I have a motion from Commissioner Hadcock, a second from Commissioner Ross Connect. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Just a 5-minute break, sir.
Sure.
That'd be my motion.
And then what?
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Commissioner Hadcock, second from Commissioner Lassiter for a short break. Then when we come back, we'll take up item 23.
We had to vote?
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to go into the Board of Adjustment.
Motion to move into the Board of Adjustment.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Ross. Second from, who did I get a second?
That was me.
Commissioner Lassiter. To go into the Board of Adjustment. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Variance 21-01.
Cody Sack, Planning Department. Item A is variance 21-01. It is to exceed the maximum height requirement of 35 feet to 130 feet 3 inches for an amusement ride on the subject property in a highway service district. The applicant is Cameron Fullerton. He is in the audience if there's any questions. The landowner is Rushmore Candy Company, Scott Mueller. The lot size is 9.28 acres. It is zoned highway service district, which requires a 20,000 square feet lot size. Staff does recommend denial of variance VA 21-01. There is no special conditions on the property that would excuse literal enforcement of the Pennington County zoning ordinance, section 211, and the applicant has other options within the zoning ordinance. If the Board of Adjustment disagrees and decides to approve the request, staff would add a condition that this variance only applies to the proposed return terminal for the proposed zip line, which is 130 feet 3 inches tall. All other structures must maintain the proper height requirements or obtain separate variances for the structure. In your packet, it does say drive terminal. With talking with the applicant this morning, it's actually the return terminal that is going to exceed the height. Whether granting variances runs counter to public interest, prong 1. Number 1, no, the request is not a blight on the neighborhood and does not appear to be a threat or nuisance. Number 2, yes, the property is zoned highway service district with 9.28 acres. The surrounding properties are also zoned highway service district. Highway service district does allow amusement structures. There is also general agriculture in the area, which is an active mine location. Also on the subject property, there is a structure that is currently 126 feet in height. Number 3, no, the zoning ordinance for highway service district has a height restriction of 35 feet. Number 4, the current comprehensive plan of the property has the property zoned highway service district, which requires a 20,000 square foot lot size. And number 5, no, the location of the building should not harm public safety, health, or general welfare of the community. Prong number 2. Does a special condition exist? Number 1, no, narrowness and topography do not impact the height of a structure. 1A, there is no special condition that exists on the property that would warrant a hardship. And B, no, there is no special condition that exists. As mentioned earlier, there is a structure on the property that was approved for a height variance. That is VA 1308, is for the tower of the what used to be Founding Fathers that was approved on January 22nd, 2014. There is no special flood hazard area on the property, and access to the property is via Highway 16. This was routed around for interdepartment review. There were no objections received. So again, staff is recommending denial of variance 21-01 because there is no special conditions on the property that would excuse literal enforcement of Pennington County zoning ordinance section 211.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
Yep, I had some trouble with this one this weekend, but I'll give it my best shot. The subject is, and I agree with your prong 1, with your findings on prong 1, so now I'm going to dive into prong 2. The subject is 9.2 acres. It's going to be Dakota Candy Land. It's on the Highway 16 corridor. 670 feet away, we have the Dinosaur Museum. That's the one with the big dinosaur outside. That's 3.78 acres. Reptile Garden sits on 30.75 acres. That's located 980 feet away. The gravel quarry is 242 acres. That's located 1,800 feet away. Bear Country, high summer traffic. That's a mile away. It's 103 acres. Fort Hayes Buffalo Roller Coaster. That's the one with the buffalo and the flying buffalo and the roller coaster. That's 5.29 acres, and that's 6,700 feet away. The point I'm trying to make is that corridor is very specific to seasonal tourism, and because they want to put this zip line in, so I suggest a special condition and hardship does exist as the natural terrain is not steep enough and the elevation not high enough to support the proposed attraction without the requested variance, therefore creating a hardship on the owner who cannot enjoy the full potential of the property, and he cannot enjoy the highest and best use of the property, which would be seasonal tourism, which is the norm along U.S. Highway 16. By granting this variance, the ordinance's spirit is observed while doing substantial justice to all, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner LaCroix.
I'd second that motion for approval with the one condition. Is that what you're doing?
Is that an actual motion?
I didn't want to make the motion. I just wanted.
Okay. I didn't think it was.
Oh.
It wasn't a motion.
Okay. I would make the motion to approve the.
Can I stop you one second?
Yeah.
Is the agent here?
The applicant is, yes.
Is the applicant here?
Yep.
Would they like to make a statement?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically, in terms of the same thing that Commissioner Rosknecht was just making, this, if you look at these following photos too, you'll notice that each one of these that we've built in the past have a basic elevation drop that's required. So the next one is more articulate. You can see this one's about 1,500 feet long, and the drop, it requires about 9 to 10% drop. So this one that we're trying to propose is safer in terms of it is not dependent upon a person to operate it correctly. It's more mechanicalized. So the design's a little bit different, but the drop is very similar. So in order to get this done, we have actually taken the high side here and made it in the valley and made the low side over there on the other side, you can see in the photo, to actually require less of a height of a tower. So that you basically got the ending of it cut in the middle of the vertical gain of the high side, essentially. But it still does require a 130-foot tower to basically accomplish the same goal of what we're trying to do here and basically fit into that tourism corridor. The whole plan for this property essentially is to make it a tourism business based upon the Dakota Candy Company building. And that's the gist of the project. Do you guys have any questions for me while I'm up here?
Chairman?
Commissioner Adcock.
So we had talked, you guys do have liability insurance on the
Yes.
zip line, and how many of these do you have, and how long have you guys been in business doing these kind of projects?
So we essentially have, if you count each one of these separate lines, in Keystone we've got 12 separate lines, and then in Colorado, and there's a different portion of the business too that has individual zip lines as well. Ultimately, that Rushmore Tramway Company has been in business under the current ownership for 21 years. And then we have a separate business in Bailey, Colorado that's been in operation for 3 years, currently going on its 4th year. As asked, we do have proper liability insurance. It's based upon mostly what ski resorts are carrying currently. And right now we have basically, I wrote in the applicant as well, we have a 100% injury-free record from anything due to our operations or any of the equipment involved. There are a couple of the inspections are also in the packet as well that we do. So we do a daily inspection on each attraction. a weekly inspection, a monthly, and then there is a third-party annual that is conducted across each one of these properties as well.
I appreciate that, sir. Those are the questions I had asked you when we were on the phone, and believed at that time, just because of your record, has been good, very professional, and I think it's going to be something well used. A lot of people, as we know, are getting that how do I have fun kind of a lot more than ever, and going up in the hills and doing a lot more things, even the local people. So this is just one more aspect that would help the surrounding area to have, some more fun with their kids and have some adventure. So I appreciate that, sir.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have one for staff.
Pardon me?
I have one for staff, unless someone
Okay.
still needs to speak
Cody?
to the. Cody, if I read this correctly, the previous tower that was there was 126 feet tall, and then they took that down, and now this is.
No, that tower still, that's for the building for Founding Fathers. That was like the bell tower that you see, that tall part, that's still there.
Oh, I thought I noticed something that came off of that.
They took the peak off.
They took the peak off? Yeah. Oh. So I guess I don't know if they took the peak off, but there was a structure there at one point that was 126
But it
feet
used to
tall.
be the full height was 126.
Correct,
So this
yes.
is just, if we approve this would only be 4 feet
3
higher
inches
than the
taller.
original variance. Is there any flight paths? I mean, I don't think there's any flight paths that 4 feet would impact.
I don't believe so. It was routed to the airport, and he was curious on why he was routed on it. So I don't think he had any major concerns with it.
I don't have any speaker requests for him, so if there's anybody here that wants to speak relative to this, I'd ask him to fill out a speaker request for him and turn it into Holly. Okay, back to the commission. Further questions?
I would yield to Mr. Roskinek because I can't repeat what he said. With the motion.
Roskinek, do you want to make a motion?
I will move to approve this variance.
Second.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Colin McNeese with the State's Attorney's Office. For the motion, if I may, I think it should say, move to approve based on Commissioner Roskinek's findings. So then we specifically reference the findings that were made earlier.
Okay, I'll make a motion relying on my findings at this particular meeting to approve variance VA 21-01.
Second.
With one condition.
You want the one condition? as part of
With the one condition that
Okay.
staff recommends.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Roskinek and a second from Commissioner LaCroix, or
Lassiter.
Commissioner Lassiter. Kara, you got it all?
Findings. I got one. Can you repeat your two findings just to make sure I have them? Mr. Roskinek, can you repeat your two findings?
Repeat your findings.
If you have them. Okay, we got them. We're good.
Okay, okay. I'm trusting you.
I just laid out them on two.
Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Passed unanimous. Thank you. Need a motion to go back to regular agenda.
So moved. Oh, thanks.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner LaCroix.
just a point of clarification. So I could have made the motion based on somebody else's findings.
Yes, Commissioner LaCroix. I think that's one of the options. If one of the commissioners makes the findings outside of the motion, I think that would be okay.
Okay.
To just say, I move to approve VA 2020 based on Commissioner Roskinek's findings.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Sounds to me like Commissioner LaCroix just found a sweet spot here.
I like it.
Okay, item B.
Morning, Commissioners. Jason Thennison, Assistant Planning Director. Agenda item B is rezone 20-08 and comprehensive plan amendment CA 20-06 to rezone 1.01 acres from general agriculture district to suburban residential district, and also to amend the comprehensive plan to change future land use from residential rural residential district to suburban residential district. The applicant and landowner is Jessica Heisler under Seven Wonders LLC. The agent is Fisk Land Surveying.
Move approval.
Got a motion by Commissioner Adcock to
Second.
approve, and a second by Commissioner LaCroy. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Next item, C.
Agenda item C is layout plan 20-04 to subdivide one lot in order to create Glendale number 1 Tract A and Glendale number 1 Tract B of Glendale Load number 1 MS 1111. The applicant and landowner is TDG Real Estate LLC. The agent is Mike Gennaro. Site location, it's east of the intersection of Playhouse Road and Oak Meadow Road. The existing lot size is 8.79 acres. It is zoned general agriculture district and vacant of any structures or utilities. Access is provided via 40-foot wide platted access easement. There's no special flood hazard area on the properties. Proposed lots on the right-hand side of the screen will be 3 acres and 5.79 acres. The request was routed for interdepartmental review. 2 comments came back, the first from the Register of Deeds, and they would prefer to see the legal be noted as Tract A and B of Glendale number 1 subdivision. And the second comment was from County Highway stating that the existing 40-foot wide access easement must be used for both tracts. Staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request as it appears to be in harmony with the existing lots and current land uses in the area. And staff recommends approval of layout plan 20-04 with conditions.
Move to approve.
Get a motion from Commissioner Roskinick
Second
to
with,
approve, and a second by
follow-up.
Commissioner Adcock. Further discussion?
Follow up, sir.
Commissioner Adcock.
Are both those conditions with Joe and A and B, tract A and B in that, one of the conditions?
Those
out
are
of the
both
10?
included as conditions of approval.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item D.
Agenda item D is preliminary plat 21-01 to combine 2 lots in order to create Lot 1R of Jones Ranch subdivision. The applicant and landowners are Ron and Susan Johnson. Their agent is Renner Associates. Location is 15356 Computer Loop. Proposed lot size is 10.473 acres. It is currently zoned low-density residential and general agriculture district. There are 2 properties being discussed. The first is highlighted in red on the left-hand side of your screen. It is currently 7 acres and will become the 10.473 acres. It contains a single-family residence with attached garage, as well as 2 outbuildings and an on-site wastewater treatment system. The second is highlighted in green to the right, and this will be reduced from 128.85 acres to 125.377 acres. And it does contain a cell phone tower. But that is not, I can show you here whereabouts that is. It's over in this southeast portion of the property, so it's not affected by this request. Apologize, my slide didn't get
So
updated.
that's a lease operation?
It is,
Cell phone
that's
tower?
correct, yep. Access is provided via Computer Loop. There's no special flood hazard area on the property. And the request was again sent out for interdepartmental review with no objections received. The Board of Commissioners did approve layout plan 20-31 with conditions on November 3rd of 2020. And the applicant has also requested rezone 21-01, and that's going to be heard as the next agenda item. With that, staff finds no significant issues with the applicant's request, as it appears to be in harmony with existing lots and current land uses in the area. Therefore, staff recommends approval of preliminary plat 21-05 with conditions.
Move approval.
I got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And I got a motion by Commissioner Adcock, second by Commissioner LaCroy. For approval, further discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Agenda item E is the follow-on request that I spoke of. It is rezone 21-01 to rezone 10.473 acres from low-density residential and general agriculture district to limited agriculture district. Staff did evaluate current and future land uses in the area and determined that there are several properties on limited agriculture district within 1/2 mile of the subject properties. Therefore, the applicant's request to rezone appears to be in harmony with current zoning in the area. This request was also sent out for interdepartmental review with no comments or concerns noted, and staff recommends approval of rezone 21-01.
Move approval.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Hadcock. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Lassiter. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item F.
Agenda item F is layout plan 21-02 to combine 3 lots in order to create lots 1 through 6 of Elkhorn Estates. The applicant and landowner is Lyndon Bolt under GL Development Company LLC. His agent is Renner Associates. Size of the properties we're talking about is 30.27 acres, and it is all zone limited agriculture district. 3 existing properties are being discussed under this layout plan. They are on the left-hand side of the screen. The first is the 2-acre triangle parcel to the right side of the map, and it is vacant of any structures or utilities. The second is the larger one in the center at 19.95 acres. Contains a single-family residence, detached garage, and a greenhouse, as well as an on-site wastewater treatment system. And the last is 8.32 acres on the left-hand side, and it contains a pole barn and an on-site wastewater treatment system. Access is provided off of Old Hill City Road. There's no special flood hazard area on the subject properties. The proposed lots are on the right-hand side of the screen. Lot 1 is in red. It will be 5.02 acres, which will require a rezone, and it will be vacant of any structures. Lot 2 is in green. It will be 4.818 acres, and this will require a rezone and comprehensive plan amendment, and it is also vacant of any structures. Lot 3 is purple. 4.175 acres will require a rezone and comprehensive plan amendment. It will contain the 24 by 80 pole barn, which will also require a conditional use permit as it's an accessory structure as a primary use. Lot 4 is in light blue. It will be 5.274 acres, will require a rezone, and it will have the single-family residence as well as the detached garage and greenhouse and on-site wastewater treatment system. Lot 5 is in orange. It will be 6.5 acres and it will require a rezone. It is vacant of any structures. And lastly, Lot 6 is in dark blue. That will be 3.895 acres, and this will require a rezone and comprehensive plan amendment, and it is vacant of any structures or utilities. The request was sent out for interdepartmental review. I had a couple of comments received, first from County Highway. They had access concerns that will be addressed during the building permit process. And Emergency Services requested that the applicant provide a proposed road name for the 50-foot wide access easement as well as the 40-foot wide access easement prior to final plat approval. And with that, the applicant's request appears to be in harmony with existing lots and current land uses in the area, and staff recommends approval of layout plan 21-02 with conditions.
Chairman,
Commissioner Hadcock.
just a comment, criteria reviewed, Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
It's something we're doing new.
That's correct.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, thanks.
You guys listened when we went to our meeting, because then I kind of know, and the commission knows, and the applicant knows what they have to go through. And you easily forget, but you did put, is comprehensive plan amendment required, a rezone required, yes. Basically, easements, conditional uses, you've covered a lot of the bases. So it simplified it for me, and I think you just simplified it a lot for the applicant through that. So thank you, Brittany and Jason, for following through, and it makes our job a lot easier on things, and the applicant as well. So they know the criteria, and we can remember all the criteria that they went through before they move forward to us too. So,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
move to approve layout plan 21-02 with 13 conditions.
second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item G.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. Item G is preliminary plat PPL 2101 to combine lots to create Lot 1R of Block 11 of the ranch at Black Gap. This layout plan was approved by the Board of Commissioners on November 17th, 2020. The applicants have met all of the conditions of approval of the layout plan. This is located in the Black Gap subdivision. Access is off of Nightwind Court. There is no special flood hazard area on the property. They are looking to consolidate these lots to create a more buildable area and to bring an existing shed into compliance that is currently within the minor drainage and utility easements. So staff is recommending approval of this preliminary plat with conditions.
Move approval.
I've got a motion to
Second.
approve and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
H.
Slow coming up.
Oh. You need to-
Item H.
See if it comes up. Item H is layout plan LPL 20-03 to subdivide and create lots 1 and 2 of BJFT subdivision. This property is located along Highway 16 and currently consists of 27.86 acres. It is zone limited agriculture district, which allows a 10-acre minimum. The future land use in this area is low-density residential district, which is actually a half-acre minimum. That is part of our new comprehensive plan, the new low-density residential district. This was routed around through the interdepartmental review process. There were a couple items that came back. There is some concern. There's an existing warehouse structure on that property. And staff is requesting that they verify the actual setback to that warehouse structure. They will also have to create an easement for access to that second lot. Let's see, I will put up. This here is the map that Commissioner Ross Connect had sent to us. So I do have that up on the screen. You can see that they are requesting to create that 7.86 acre lot that will contain the warehouse structure and then 20-acre lot that will be vacant of any structures. They will have to extend that access easement to that 20 acres. They will also have to get a conditional use permit for that existing warehouse structure, as that will be the principal use on that property. This is in harmony with the surrounding land uses and the future land use in the area. So staff is recommending approval of this layout plan with conditions.
H or I? Sorry.
This is H.
H.
So, Mr. Chair, so Brittany, some of the concerns, the access easement and whatnot, those are going to be conditions?
Yes, that is a condition of approval and verifying the setback for that structure and the conditional use permit.
So I'll go ahead and move to approve LPL 2103 with 10 conditions.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner LaCroy. Further discussion?
Chairman.
Commissioner Adcock?
So, I don't know why I got confused on it, but there is this is one of them that needs the easement in order to go through both lots, right?
Yes, they will have to create an easement either as part of the plat or as a separate recorded document to go through that proposed lot 1, the 7.86 acres for access to the 20 acres.
Okay, just making sure so they don't get a little landlocked.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Further discussion? Questions? I have a motion from Commissioner Roskinek. Who did I get a second from?
Lloyd.
And a second from Commissioner LaCroy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're at I.
Cody-Sac Planning Department. Item I is the request not to submit engineered road construction plans to have a road width of 14 feet instead of 24 feet, to have a gravel surface depth of 4 inches instead of 6 inches, to have slopes greater than 4 to 1, and ditches less than 2 feet, and to not construct a turnaround. This was heard on February 2nd. It was continued to this meeting over concerns of an access easement. Here is that the access easement has been recorded. However, I do not believe that the Exhibit A has been recorded, but they do have a private easement through the neighboring property that allows access to the property. So the applicant, Keith Kuchenbecker, is respectfully requesting to waive requirements not to submit engineered road plans. A road width of 14 feet instead of 24 feet, to have a gravel surface of 4 inches instead of 6 inches, slopes greater than 4 to 1, ditches be less than 2 feet deep, and to not construct a turnaround. The waivers are only for the access to the proposed single-family residence, and any additional development would require additional waivers to ordinance 14 standards.
Mr. Chair.
Questions, Commissioner Roskinek?
After the last meeting, a few days after the last meeting, I met with the landowner, Isaac Almanza, and his father-in-law. Took these photos, and we, I said, they were very clear that this is only going to be a single-family home, and that's going to serve as a driveway. So I don't see any need to have a 24-foot surface. He did say they're going to do 6 inches of gravel, but considering that this is going to be it's going to be a single-family residence, I'm in favor of waiving this. Now, if they do something more in the future, then I totally agree that we're going to have to take another look at that, because then it won't be a driveway, it'll be an access road. But based on what I saw the day that I did the inspection, it's just basically a driveway to a single-family residence, and I didn't see any terrain problems. The drainage, no need to have ditches, because that drainage is going to flow naturally down in the Spring Creek.
Chairman,
Commissioner Adcock?
so I'd like to make a motion, but bottom line is, I think, I'm supposed to make the motion first. Okay, so my motion would be to approve this, but with one condition. If there's, that if there's any further development on this property, they need to bring the road up to ordinance 14 standards. Meaning if they subdivide, if they replat, or if they make more development, because you could do a PUD on this property later and add more lots and different things to this property. So if they're keeping it as what it is, I'm in agreement. But the minute they put further development on it, I think they need to upgrade that road, and that'd be their responsibility. Because what happens later, which we know, is they put it on the next person's.
Is there a
on the
second?
next person, so.
I have a second. Point of clarification, maybe I just misunderstood Commissioner Roskinek. But what I'm reading here is that it says they have gravel surface depth of 4 inches instead of 6 inches.
When I met with them, he indicated that, verbally, he indicated that they were going to do 6 inches.
Okay. Has that been relayed also to you, Cody, or Joe?
I'm not sure if it had or not. I don't believe so.
They haven't to us as far as the gravel depth, no.
Okay, so is the motion to have it at the 4 inches, Commissioner Adcock?
So I think, go ahead, Joe.
I think the 4 inches is just a minimum. If they put 6 inches on it, that's up to them. I mean, that's more cost to them. I don't
You're
think.
fine with the motion being basically to say 4 inches? Okay.
One thing I guess I would like to point out that Mark Schock just pointed out to myself is that easement was a private access easement. So if there is any further subdivision, that would probably need to be changed to a public access.
Right.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions or conversation? Hearing none, I will ask for all those in favor and indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we want to take 2021-22 off the table at this point?
Want to do public comment first?
It's up to you. We can do that. Okay. So items from the public? See Cullen jumping up and down, so I guess we don't have anybody from the public.
Motion to bring 2021 and 22 off the table, sir.
We got a motion,
Second.
and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Item 20, items from the chair and commission members. Anything of note that needs to be brought before the commission from any of the commission members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Ross.
these would be some items that would not pertain to the committees that I'm on. And so I wanted to point out that you and I rescheduled a meeting that was set for February with Anna Hayes and Matt Bruner, who are with Elevate Rapid City. And we were going to discuss the merits of Pennington County considering a discretionary tax formula specific to commercial and industrial properties. This concept would serve as a tool to entice new businesses to the area through an incremental tax relief over a 5-year period per state statutes. Surrounding counties do this, and they think Pennington County should jump in. And Gary and I, we like we said, we had to reschedule just due to conflicting other appointments that we had. So we're going to try to meet with them again in April, but I just wanted the commission to know that we're working with them. We're not saying we're in favor, and we're not saying we're against. We're just doing some fact finding right now. And then last week, Gary and I met with the sheriff, told him to go over his priority list. And this wasn't part of the building committee. This is just a meeting that Gary and I had with the sheriff. And some of the items that he wanted to, that's on this list that he put together would be the jail lobby remodel, and that would just be putting some ballistic glass in there. Jail infrastructure project, that is going to be probably a multi-million-dollar project, and then we figure it's going to take 2 to 3 years to complete once it's approved. It's just something coming down the pipeline. Public safety building lobby, there again, I think they want to beef that up a little bit. Some ballistic glass and make it a little safer for the law enforcement inside that building. That would be a split with Rapid City, and last I heard was about $500,000. Then we got the Crisis Stabilization Center. That's earmarked at $4.6 million. That would be relative to Senate Bill 144, which would be the funding. And then we got the jail booking remodel, and that's in the $3 million range. That would be a remodel of the jail, laundry, and kitchen facility. And we have the jail administration area remodel. The drawings are complete, no firm cost estimate yet, but probably in excess of $1 million. Last week, Travis, Commissioner Laffender, and myself, and Joe with the Highway Department, and Scott Guffey with Pennington County Weed and Pest did a tour of the 2 major projects going on in Pennington County, Sheridan Lake Road and South Rochford Road. It was a good tour. Maybe we can do it again where we can get the other commissioners and show them what's going on out there in the boondocks of Pennington County. And I've been asked by the supervisor of the Black Hills National Forest to speak on the 25th of February. It's going to be a 2-day symposium relative to ATVs and concerns that I think the state, the county, landowners, we're just going to do some brainstorming and see if we can come to some kind of a compromise with the increased traffic that these things are doing and some of the damage they're doing to our natural resources.
So can I ask you a question, Ron? So you're not representing us as a whole, you're just visiting about, possible solutions, right? Not that we're disagreeing with ATVs or what's happening on the roads, right?
I think they're just going to be asking me what I hear from concerned citizens.
Yeah.
I'm not taking a stance one way or another. I'm just relaying the concerns that I get. That's how I got involved.
Hey.
And I think that's the design of the symposium, is to collect information. It's not at that time anyway, to try to make decisions.
I'm just speaking for the constituents and not that this is what we need to do.
Yep.
And those are your constituents, I'm gathering? Because I'm just saying, if you're based on constituents, the other side of the constituents are the ones that are saying positive about it and how awesome they are. So if you have you know, I mean, when you represent, I guess when I have people speak other places, I'm worried sometimes that you're representing as a commissioner with, instead of that there's two sides to the story, and the other sense of the constituents are, they think there is not an issue, so.
I think Commissioner Ross Connect is correct. I think his involvement is going to be as to what he has received as far as complaints or comments relative to it. There's a lot of different groups that are being invited to participate in that symposium.
And
so.
I'm not taking one side or another.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
speaking for my constituents. And along with me will be Randy Dybert. He's Loras County Commissioner. And me and Randy I met him at Black Hills Council of Local Governments, and we both have the same issues. And so hopefully the symposium will just bring an awareness and have some positive results.
I can give a little feedback on that, Deb. I mean, it's absolutely right, is what they said, is you're going to hear stories from all sides. I mean, the ATV group that do the rentals and do all that stuff will also be there representing themselves, and that's good that they get to hear, because they've even got concerns. So they gather all the information and give it to their work group. So.
And then on the meeting with Mr. Tome, did he set priorities? Because based on cash flow and budget in Pennington County, how much are you willing to put for all these projects? Some because you do get some from another entity. Do we have other monies that could be designated in other areas that have a bigger priority than some of the public safety and stuff like that? Not against anything again, but he has a lot of projects that he's moving forward. And if it's based on Pennington County as a whole, using general fund money or buildings and grounds money, that should be something that is ran through the building committee and based on priority. So there's a lot of other priorities in there. So I'm not against anybody's projects. I just see there's a lot of projects coming from one entity, and I don't see, maybe I'm not in the know of all the other projects. But there's other projects that we need to get done before some of that stuff, if it's based on budget and general fund money.
Yeah,
I might just interject here. Ron and I were both in this meeting. There was no priorities established on projects. What basically we'd asked for was a list of various projects. They were listed out. We had a short discussion on maybe each one of the projects, but we talked about establishing priorities at a later point in time, but nothing was established.
Okay, I thought Ron said that they were.
Well, I mean, I think we called it a priority list, but they were not in a priority.
Sorry.
And
That's where I misunderstood
I
you.
think we're all going to agree that this will get fleshed out more in our formal building committee.
Yeah, I just thought you said they were his priorities to get done.
I
And
think that's what the list said, priority list, but nothing was in a priority, aligned in a priority manner.
Okay.
Anything further from commission members? Before we
Mr.
go
Chair.
to the Commissioner LaCroix.
I just wanted to bring up again, well, we got Mark here and Joe here over some of the discussion on South Valley Road. I received another phone call last week on some concerns. Again, the speed stuff. And first of all, I want to thank Mark and Joe very much about the hard work that you guys have put forth with working with this road. And not only that, the people and everything that you've done. You've done an outstanding job, I have to admit. And as you know, these type of things, it's gone on for so long that it goes from working with Lloyd LaCroix to working with Deb, it goes to working with another city council person, and that's what's happening out there. So we're getting a lot of people involved again. And so I had passed on some of the concerns that I had heard out there to Mark on a Friday, and you guys did a very nice job of putting that out there and responding to me so I can give it to the residents of that area. But I just wanted to bring it back up to this commission that it's not going away, and other people are getting involved again, which we need to get our communications back going again, because we're repeating exactly what we did 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And thanks, Holly, you're creating a file now, because I sat my stuff off to the side and it seemed to be good for a while when we work on it, and then all of a sudden another person gets involved with it, has no idea what's all gone on before, and we're right back into where we are again of research and stuff. So I just wanted to bring it up that it was brought to me that someone said our roads were substandard. And so I said, I will check on that. I don't want that going out there being said or so forth, and it was passed on. So, thank you guys for clarifying that, and we'll get it out to the residents, and we just don't want that type of thing. I mean, our roads are, you guys do an excellent job, and I want to nip that in the bud.
So, thank you, Lloyd, but, just a couple of things. This got brought up again because two council members contacted me, Pat and, Ron. I also this was my district before, in my ward before, I was on the city council or on the county commission. So I've been on this road a long time as well. Some of the stuff keeps getting rehashed because we're changing the road a little bit. We put gravel instead of, and that supposedly increased the traffic. Weifenbach and Pat wanted to think about putting speed bumps. I talked to Jay that said we weren't getting anything done out there, which isn't true because I told him Lloyd was working on it. Then it came to pass that I listened to Joe, and Mark has the experience that speed bumps don't work. Long story short, then we talked about stop signs. Stop signs aren't conducive to that area. Now the solution is to make the middle lines or the lines smaller. That supposedly through some kind of functioning that works by reducing speed by making the road look smaller, even though it's not. I think I got that right, Joe. Bottom line is, I did send that to Ron Weifenbach. It's coming to pass that maybe we put little speed sign things up to make sure people know their speed and reduce those lines. No, it won't ever go away, South Valley, until someone takes that jurisdiction over. That's the bottom line, but we will keep rehashing it, whether people thought, because I started on the city council and they didn't know Lloyd was in it, or they thought in that case that Lloyd disagreed, which I told him he did not, because I had conversation with Lloyd. Lloyd said on one thing, not the whole thing. So, bottom line is, Joe and Mark are looking into it. I did contact again Weifenbach, and he's forwarding that to Pat. Hopefully they can share some costs on those speed signs and reduce that line in the middle, if I'm correct, to make it look like the road looks smaller, even though it's not. That kind of makes people not supposedly go as fast. Joe can explain that a little better.
Yeah, I believe right now that's a 24-foot road top, so you generally, your fog line is out furthest that it can be. Eric Radke, our sign manager, did some research on some traffic calming ideas, which is trying to reduce the speed of traveling vehicles. One of the suggestions was to restripe it and narrow the perceived driving surface. I don't know if you've ever been in a construction zone, but when those cones start getting like they're going to hit your mirrors, you tend to slow down, and that's kind of the same theory with restriping it a little bit narrow. Now we restripe all of our pavement every year, so the only cost out of our pocket would be to spray some tack oil on the existing fog line to make that go away and then restripe it. So.
And basically, too, the county standards are different than city standards. So when someone probably was having conversation with the people, with Jay or anybody out there, they probably told them it's not city standards, of course, because their roads are different and you have to have the edges different and everything. It would have cost us over $1 million just for that one stretch for the road. So bottom line is, it's up to county standards, but it's not city, so they probably got confused on the standards.
No, it was somebody who was working on the road told another resident. I'm not trying to rehash. I wasn't trying to say anything bad about other people getting involved. I mean, that's just what happens over time.
Yeah.
After we've done so many different things, more, then they go to someone else and we end up repeating some of the stuff. I'm not, by all means, you've worked on it before, Deb.
No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that
Okay.
that way either, Lloyd. I was just giving all the information because you're telling something, but that the other commissioners don't know, so meaning on what's happening next and what's going forward on it, so they keep up to date. I wasn't trying to say that I was offended by that. I just wanted to make sure they knew how it got brought up again and basically what the solution was with the highway department. So nothing against you or saying anything bad, Lloyd.
But bottom line, it ain't going away until we,
What'd you say?
I said bottom line, it's not going away until we
Nope, I don't think it ever
try and
will,
do.
till somebody takes that.
But I will say this much, you know, when you, so if people come to you and say that we've done nothing, that is totally wrong. I mean, we've had city, county
Yep.
work together on the speed prevention, what do you want to call it?
Over 10 years.
Saturations
Yep,
and
over 10 years,
we've,
Lloyd.
yeah, we've done it quite a bit.
Yep.
So if any of you guys hear of any of that, that's right, the reason why I brought this up, in case it goes on down the line, that we've all worked out pretty hard.
No, I
And,
defended you in their county highway department, Lloyd, because same thing, and I had told you that on the phone, that that was moving forward and that you did start it, and that's not something you would say, but the speed bumps, you probably took advice from our county highway. But you never also, when I called it back, you never heard about the stop signs and different stuff. So,
I don't remember.
nope, it was a good conversation, and yeah, you've been working on this a long time as well, Lloyd. So
Just threw it out. Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Any other items coming from commission members? Now we'll go to committee reports. Start out with Travis.
All right, so Rapid City Public Library had a meeting, and the trial with the mask revision where they allowed individuals with medical exemptions. So far, they've only had one individual come through, and it was taken as is, no problems there, except the one thing that even with those medical exemptions, if you're having one-on-one with the staff there, you still have to have a mask on. So even though you might be able to come in and you have to show proof of it, they still require a mask for one-on-ones or close contact. So it seems like it was going well, so they're going to keep it up so that individuals can still access the library who need to or who meet those medical exemptions. They're opening back up their notary and test proctoring services as well, so that's good for the community to be able to get their documents notarized at the library. And then they're going to be launching a new website in about 2 months. It's supposed to be more user friendly, so I'll keep you up to date when that happens. So it's looking pretty nice over there.
Question for you, Travis.
Yes.
I got this library report. I don't understand how to read this. Where it talks about registered borrowers and material use.
Mm-hmm. Cassie, which one you're looking at so I can let you know?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the usage?
Yeah.
You want to know, is it going down, going up?
I don't understand the categories.
You talking the blue one here or the top one?
The right in the middle there, right in the top. Yeah, right there.
All right, so Rapid City borrowers, how many total borrowers out of Rapid City? Pennington County borrowers, so city versus county. Anyone who's outside of the county that comes in and borrows. And then New Pennington County borrows. That one I don't know. I didn't ask the question. I could only assume that means somebody who's never borrowed within Pennington County, then decided to start borrowing from the library. And then material use by Pennington County borrows. That is like their I believe that's their magazines and their, the newspapers and things of that nature.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that clarify what you're looking for, or what do you wanting to know? The usage going down?
Let me see it back. Just looked
I
to me
mean,
like
I'm a
this.
good middleman.
Yeah. It just appeared to me that when it says new Pennington County borrowers, what does that mean?
The way I took that when we were talking, and I didn't ask the question, but there's Pennington County borrowers that have been going to the library several years, and they check out material. That would be like the first time that an individual checked out material from Pennington County.
Okay.
It's my understanding they're tracking the new people moving in.
Oh, okay. Very good. Okay. Anything else from you, Travis?
Nope, that would be it.
Commissioner LaCroix?
No.
You didn't have anything scheduled.
Well, I didn't have nothing
You can
scheduled.
always talk.
Yeah. I did attend, with the Human Relations Commission with Malcolm Chapman and the MOU group. We've had 3 meetings already. We're doing about 2 a week, getting things going on that. It's more education right now. I did have a Youth Family Services Board meeting I attended virtually, but I think the biggest one is we held the Youth City Council meeting retreat here at the county yesterday. And I want to give a big thanks to Holly. She'd had this room all set up before the water damage that happened over the weekend, and they had to be moved quickly over to EEOC. And she did that and got it all done by 9 o'clock for those guys to do it. And so thank you from myself and the group, Holly, for all the work that you did with that. And for the EEOC and the people that came down and popped their heads into the retreat meeting, because the young people really did an outstanding job and were really impressed. Ted gave them, after lunch, a tour of the 911 facility, and you could see some of the light in their eyes going off and the interest in some of these young people, what was going on in that room, and seeing some of the calls coming in and listening in. So it was really good that they got to see that. But in hindsight, what they worked on, they had their meeting here from 9 to 3. They did some outstanding work. They narrowed down some of the group work that they're going to do. They did like a community needs assessment of what they want to do. And then they broke it down towards the end. I can kind of give an example. They broke it down to environment, cultural relations, the mental health, economics, and some other smaller groups that they had, but there was a list of about 20 things, and they started categorizing those into different groups. But this was for new members that had come in, learning the ropes, and I think we had 12 of the 18 youth in attendance for it. So it was. I just wanted to pass that on. Thanks for the support, and now they're actually looking in. They want to do a tour of the campus. Their biggest interest is the jail for some reason. So.
Okay, thank you, Lloyd. A couple of things that I participated in. One was with Ron, was the MPO meeting, which brought us current as to where we're at with several projects. Only a couple of them that I'll mention. In Rapid City, they're talking about doing this. We're going to be moving forward here, starting yet this month on that interchange on La Crosse Street and I-90. It's a big project. It's about a $17.5 million project that includes essentially, revamping that entire bridge and the traffic flow, the way it goes and stuff. It's going to be pretty interesting as that moves forward. And then the other thing is on the signing project that we've talked about yet last fall. And they said that in Pennington County, that the new signing project is about 50% complete. And I didn't actually hear if they said when that was to be completed, if that's scheduled for this year to be completed or.
I don't recall that exact date neither, but
Yeah.
one of the things I was going to ask Holly relative to the MPO, could you reach out to Patsy Horton and have them send us the minutes once they have those done so that we can review those minutes when we do our committee reports?
Good idea.
Good idea. So the other thing that Travis and I last night attended the Central States Fair Board meeting, which was demonstrated that the Black Hill Stock Show was a huge, huge success. Not only for numbers and attendance, numbers at events, dollars that came into the community from it, and all those dollars are not totally known for sure. I mean, they're still doing calculations and paying bills, so we won't have those total numbers until our meeting next month. But it was just about every event. There was only 2 events that were down in numbers. One was the sheep trials, and the other one was the It was not a major event, but for example, the horse sale, which had set records last year with over $1.2 million generated in horse sales, jumped all the way to 1.9 something million this year, which is huge. So, overall, it sounded like the vendors were all pleased. In fact, I think the best word to use is ecstatic. When I was there on the first Saturday of it, I stopped by a friend of ours who was a vendor, been there for years. And they kind of indicated that they weren't looking for great things, but they were happy to be here because of the fact they just hadn't been able to be at any other shows. After it was over with, I got a phone call from them saying, best event ever for them. So the people did show up, did turn out. They spent the dollars. So it was great. I've just got to commend the board and Ron Jeffries and his staff for pulling off what they did for that. And we were, as we talked last night, we were probably very fortunate that it occurred before the extreme cold hit, but it was a well-attended event. And that's all I have. Ron.
Deb and I attended the building committee. That was after our last commission meeting on February the 2nd. I'm just going to go over some highlights. Some of the items that were discussed, the main jail remodel. They're doing some, I hit on some of this earlier, 2 offices in the lobby remodel. The jail study, they're doing an assessment and recommendations. That's currently happening. When they get done with that, then we as the commission have to decide if we're going to move forward with those recommendations. And I'm just, my opinion is that we probably want to do that sooner than later because the more that deteriorates, we're going to lose the longevity of the jail, and I think that would. I think when we finally get those recommendations that we need to act faster than not. We talked on the Care Campus facility, JCI campus and controls. We'll probably talk a little bit about that more today, but that's working. We're basically taking the Honeywell system and replacing it with the JCI security system. Building and grounds assessment. Upper Deck's working with Mike Cool on that project. Building and grounds, we approved 2 full-time employees. Mike is in the process of looking at those, interviewing and finding out. Not only do we want to find them, but I think one of them that he's going to be looking for is a project manager, and there's a limited amount of project managers in Rapid City that could probably meet the needs of Mike. But anyhow, he's working on his 2 full-time employees, lamplighter, future use, public safety building remodel, state's attorney and public defender's office. It sounds like they're both going to need space in the future. Radio antenna, Hill City, Keystone, Rockerville, that's a $2.4 million project to be funded by the state. And then the evidence building forward movement, they're continuing to monitor that, and that precedent seems to be stable. Relative to the MPO that Gary and I attended, another project that's coming down the pipeline, probably 4 of the 6 years will be the overpass on Highway 79. Right now, if you go over that overpass, probably built in the 60s, there's no corridor for pedestrians or bicycles. So when they finally get to work on that, there will be a pedestrian and bicycle route either on the bridge itself or underneath the bridge, which it's going to be another one of those multi-million-dollar projects. That's all I got.
Yep.
Thank you. Ron pretty much got the building committee stuff down. I'll keep saying we need to figure out in building committee too what the priorities are and the cash flow is. So those are my only concerns with all the projects. I do know For me personally, it is the infrastructure of the jail that's been ongoing since I've been here, and buildings and grounds needing a building. Adding more projects and more areas for them to do without the adequate space and things that make a difference to make it more efficient and effective for this county. For me, is a big priority. Just having big buildings and different stuff when you can't be efficient and effective, you lose a lot more money doing that. So, adding more stuff and just adding to the issues. So, that would be my personal feeling. Fire Service Board, missed Fire Service Board and Planning Commission, was out Sunday through Wednesday with sinus, more vertigo, that kind of thing. No, I don't have COVID, and why I was coughing today is I had Ron's chili and it choked me out. No, no, it just dried me further out, even though it was awesome. So I came out and sounded like I had a cold already, but my nose was running everything from his. So no, I don't have COVID or anything bad. My throat sounds like I'm dry, but or have something bad, but I've been sounding like this for a while, more like sinuses or allergies too, which is not good. But for some reason, it gave me some really bad vertigo, and it's still a little bit. Not today. I started taking Dramamine. 2 of those in the morning was recommended, so it's actually doing a lot better. But Fire Service Board, I do support some of their legislation. They're moving forward. I'm just glad that they're in Pierce, seeing what's going on and seeing where the state can help them as well. For the events I did for the fairgrounds and the Civic Center, I really enjoyed talking with many people that were in those events or just walking around, or people just, that knew from County Commission that I was involved, and they were loving it from all over the United States. It wasn't just here, because those events, they kept saying we can't go to hardly any events except in South Dakota. You finally got something that, is going to make a huge difference for us, and it does. And we said that as a commission, all of us did, about how that's going to make a difference economically and for people's physical and mental health. I mean, and then for the cowboys or agriculture, that's their living. So you can't just say because of COVID, we're not going to do it, because that affects them economically in huge, huge ways that they can't make up. That's not easy makeup money. We know that. Because Gary said $1.9 million on horse sales and stuff. Those things are crucial to our constituents in the county. So I'm glad they move forward, and that this commission has been above and beyond. And we do have 2 good representatives, Gary and Travis, that are ag or county people and have been in Gary's case. I'm very proud of him for what he's done for this commission, as well as chair, let alone as a commissioner. He just, I'm going to say something nice about you for a minute, Gary, hardly ever. So it's huge that Gary's been all over the state, and he represents and he knows a lot of the people that have issues or have joined issues as we have. So that has been a huge addition to this commission with his knowledge and his ability. We always talk about experience. Gary is that. So that's pretty cool. Everybody on this commission adds a great piece to this puzzle. And everybody, as we know, we have our personality issues sometimes, but we have a great commission. So adding that with the chair and a person that, like I said, knows South Dakota inside and out, literally, I'm pretty proud of that this year. So that's pretty cool.
I think Deb just said I was old.
I said experience.
That's what I heard.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
I just want to point out that last Friday I went to the sports show, and I think it was lightly attended on Friday, but I heard that Saturday and Sunday was pretty busy. Anybody else make the sports show?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was well attended. The attendance, I understand, on Friday was down maybe about 30%, but that was that cold spell. But Saturday, when I was there starting from late morning until about mid-afternoon. The traffic flow through there was very good. We went back for the auction that evening, and I thought that was well attended. So, and they had some great items that were up for sale. I think they did exceedingly well overall for that show. So It was
Buy
good.
anything? Did you bid?
I bid, but I didn't buy anything.
Mr. Chairman.
I was smart. I didn't take a receiver for my pickup.
Travis, just a question. Since Holly's doing all your work, does she get that extra pay you didn't take?
Commissioner Lassiter.
I was going to point out that I enjoyed, I went to the stock show several days. I got the privilege to judge the mutton busting. So that was a pretty neat little event. I was down there watching those little kids ride those sheep, and that was pretty fun. So looking forward to that again next year.
Good
So,
deal.
It was fun. It was a fun event.
oh, yeah.
Always is. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
No, we got to pay some bills. So we got a couple of motions that we need for vouchers. We need one to approve the voucher in the amount of $698.15 to
Move.
the Rose Inn, and Commissioner Hadcock will be abstaining from this vote.
Move to approve the voucher in the amount of $698.15 to the Rose Inn LLC.
And is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It was, the vote is 4-0 with Commissioner Hadcock abstaining. Now I need a motion to approve the remaining vouchers in the amount of $2,423,711.29.
So move.
Got a motion. Is there a second? And a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Before we adjourn, Holly, can you tell us what happened with the building?
I can. Saturday afternoon, one of the sprinkler heads in the main vestibule out here on the west side doors froze and broke. Alarms went off right away. Fire department was here within a few minutes. But sprinklers can put a lot of water out in a few amount of minutes. So, the water just seeped underneath the doors into the commission office, into the commission chambers. Looks like everything is dry now except for the main vestibule wall, which they're working on. When I got here Saturday, the door mechanisms were frozen solid. That's all been ruined inside of there. So until they get those doors repaired, they're going to be cable secured so nobody can enter the building unauthorized. So Building and Grounds did an amazing job on Saturday. They had a crew here. Restoration company was here sucking up water. They were on top of it.
So they have, number one, any idea of how much the damages are for cost? And number two, is there a certain amount of water per building that comes out of there per minute? Or, you know what I mean? Because if you did your house, would it be different? Because that looks like that's a lot of water pretty quick.
It's all by zones is how I understand how our system's set up, but those are specific questions that Mike Cool can certainly answer. I'm sure in building committee, they'll probably talk about it this afternoon.
Good
I think
point.
it's different from, if it's coming from the sprinkler head, it's different than under this circumstance where it froze.
Broke, yeah.
And actually, it was just kind of an open flow there for several minutes,
Yeah.
which still would allow for a lot of water to.
Well, Gary, do they run for a certain amount of minutes or you don't really?
Well, it did, the sprinkler head itself was not running. That froze and broke.
Right.
And so the water was just free flowing. So had the alarm not gone off, I mean, it could have run for hours. But they were here within 5 minutes of it. I don't know how long it took actually to get it shut off.
Right.
But
Standing is
Yeah,
15 minutes worth of water.
Yeah, and the positive part about that, it was the sprinkler system where it's zoned where they could shut off that zone quick, you know what I'm saying?
Under
So-
normal circumstances, Deb, if there was a fire or whatnot, I think they turn on by zones. It's not like just a free flowing.
Yeah. I
type
just
of
wondered once the
situation.
alarm went off, why only that sprinkler and it didn't hit the whole zone? You see what I'm saying? If alarm goes off, it seems like.
I
it
think
hit
it's a
that.
different alarm.
Yeah.
I think the alarm showed that it was a failure on the
Yeah,
part of the sprinkler
there you
head,
go. Failure.
not a fire.
See, what activates that sprinkler head or the alarm would be the flow. Once they get a flow, you don't need the heat at all. That flow sensor will say that something's flowing, and
Yeah.
that's what started the.
And I'll just say, we had the same problem Saturday night at a property on St. Circle S, and it'd been a couple hours before, it wasn't a sprinkler line, but a pipe burst, and it was several hours before it was noticed till it was running out the door into the street. So
This cold has
that's
messed
why
a
when I
bunch of
walked in
stuff.
here and seen this one, this was nothing compared to
Wow.
what we had.
Okay, I am ready for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.